the heart and soul of our sport, where these players strive to become who they're truly meant to be.
No more break, it's time for action. Welcome to Overwatch Contenders.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch Contenders Summer Series. And obviously, we're back here in Europe with myself, Dustin, or Dogman, and we got Moxie on the right side, aka Moxie. We're back for more Contenders content. The Summer Series is always one of the most anticipated series for Contenders in general. I think this is usually where a lot of teams are starting to kind of figure out their roles and kind of get everything rolling. And obviously, you know, we have 2 games for everybody today, Moxie. It's good to be back. How are you feeling? Are you excited for Contenders to be back in summer?
I'm excited. It doesn't feel like we've had that much downtime between this and the spring series because obviously we had Overwatch conferences for the World Cup slotted directly after the spring season ended. So a lot of these players you're going to be very familiar with, whether it's your first time tuning into Contenders. If so, welcome. We're going to have some fun. You're going to see some amazing matches and some really good players. But if you're joining us from the Overwatch World Cup conference scene, you're also going to be recognizing a lot of these players specifically on this 2 first matchups here, because we're gonna have SR Peakcheck versus X Oblivione as that #1 match. And Dustin, X Oblivione are a team that have a lot of pedigree and pull in the tier 2 scene, right? Currently second in the spring season. Unfortunately, once again, fell before a Pharah team. But still incredibly gifted in terms of being able to play things like the Tracer, the Sombra, the Winston, and since we haven't really had any major patches that offsets that meta, it's probably still going to be more of the same.
And then meanwhile, after that match too, we got Play versus Sheer Cold. You know, that open division matchup between those 2 teams will be incredibly exciting. And also, just Sheer Cold in general have been kind of a underdog kind of to root for a lot of fans. And, you know, with these 2 games, I think it's an awesome way to start off the Contender Summer Series. And, you know, I feel like this is also, I think this is also where me and you started. I think I asked you for the broadcast, you know, back in the summer last year. So to be back in summer is awesome. And then also with these 2 games, specifically with the first match, like you said, Moxie, with SR Peakcheck versus X Oblivione, this is going to be a good match. I think that people are really looking forward to not only watching SR Peakcheck, who were kind of one of those teams that were, you know, Reinhardt one tricks at points, putting Cloudy on Reaper. They like to play a little out of the box at times, right?
I think a little out of the box is the best way to define this team, but probably they're going to be using the Symmetra teleports to get LH Cloudy on that Reinhardt outside of the box and bring the hammer down to be able to find some really nice surprise shatters. Team France showed that Reinhardt still very much has a place in the meta, and LH Cloudy starting things off for SR Peakcheck is immediately, you know it, going to be advocating to get that Rein, get that Ana, get the Lucio boost with dollars. I think someone actually said on a forum, if you get Yazan in a ranked lobby, you go Mercy. If you get Cloudy, well, you go Lucio. And it's essentially a free win.
And by the way, I like how Dalla also kind of going for that side nickname, right? And this is how you should do it if you mix up your name. Instead of doing some random name, you go with your actual name and then a little bit of extra to it. So really cool to see this backline of Mickey and Dalla back through it. Meanwhile, on the other side, Moxie, you talked about storied. X Oblivione is one of the biggest roster, or biggest, you know, teams in all of the Contenders.
Yeah, and at the moment, they also have a big announcement because London Spitfire, literally, I believe it was 20 minutes ago, announced that Skyripper was no longer going to be with the team and was moving on to a different area. And surprise, Contenders have him! We took him! We stole Skyripper. He is going to be playing alongside X Oblivione, but he's not going to be starting. It's going to be Knail and Crispy. This very storied backline that X Oblivione have brought a lot of synergy up with. Bestola as well. Such a huge tank player, known through the scene in Tier 1 as having such a good diva for the Paris Eternal, and then obviously coming here into Contenders and being able to carry on with that diva, really pressuring a lot of those pharmacy-heavy teams, but also having an incredibly strong Ramatra and Sigma as well.
Yeah, some of these players definitely need to kind of step it up as well going into Contenders. I think that, like, obviously, a lot of them have like return, like you said. We've got Skyripper coming back, and it's going to be interesting for me to watch him in general, just because I think I've only competed against the guy instead of watching them. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that comes through. And I think in Contenders, you really have to prove, like you said, with Vistola in particular, a lot of that flexibility, maybe even showing a little bit more prowess than you did previously in the Overwatch League. So we'll have to see if that comes through. Meanwhile, first map for the day will be Antarctic Peninsula, Moxie. And, I feel like we probably could see, before the game even starts, what kind of compositions are going to be played. Yeah,
it definitely leans into the wheelhouse of SR Peak Check, right? This is very much where you can get that Reinhardt composition working to an incredible force. However, it also plays perfectly into that Ramatra brawl. And when we talk about this matchup between the Ramatra and the Reinhardt, Ramatra at the beginning in that poke phase has so much more pressure, with just the primary being able to have that long range, as opposed to the Reinhardt, who unfortunately is only restricted to the 2 fire strikes. The difference comes in terms of that charge mechanic, because if you charge the Ramatra away from the rest of his team, he has no means of being able to stop it. You can try and go into Nemesis form, but that just makes himself a bigger target. So if Cloudy is smart and uses those pins to be able to create space for the rest of his team, which he has done in the past, we're probably actually going to get to see both of those tank players removed at the beginning of these fights. And it's going to come down to the backline to keep the DPS up until a kill is found.
Yeah, it's kind of been a little bit of a thing for at least Exable Viona recently, Moxie, where it feels like, you called it out earlier as well. Last season, obviously, to drop to the Farah team. Now coming to this one, do you think that they've worked on dealing with some of these cheesy teams, right? A Reinhardt team like SR Peak Check, maybe that Farah team. Was that, you think, a focal point of their roster in this offseason?
I think definitely. I know a lot of these teams are going to be keeping an eye on those pharmacy-heavy teams. The fact that Triple did lose Yazan, who got traded away to Twisted Minds, does mean that Twisted Minds is sort of that go-to boss team that you have to be concerned about with all of the Pharah and Echo players. However, Triple do still have Turkey, who is able to flex between both the aerial heroes, but also things like the traditional hit scan. So it's going to be interesting to see his journey. But for the rest of these teams, when you're going up against SR Peak Jack, well, you know what you're getting into, at least when Cloudy's going to be starting off. My eye is going to be on Kaneo, because Kaneo can play the Ana, but in my personal opinion, the hero that he's really known for, that he rose to prominence in the contender scene because he played it alongside Munich when they were able to find such a decisive win on that A-side story, was Moira. And Moira has seen a resurgence in hero pick at the moment to be able to play alongside Lucio and Ramatra, because Damage Orb now refreshes Heal Meter. So if you do send that Damage Orb up, not only do you manage to keep pressuring out the other team, punishing the fact that if they're clumped up together, everyone's going to be taking that tick damage, you also constantly keep regenerating that heal burst to make sure that everyone on your side still stays alive.
I'm really curious if that's actually going to come to fruition. It's because, obviously, like you said, with Moira in particular, is a really good hero for Kaneo. And, I think Kaneo has proven as well recently just to constantly be evolving as a player. So I'm curious to see if they do take advantage of that backline of Crispy and Kaneo. Really, really strong backline support duo between those two. Meanwhile, on the other side, obviously, SR Peak Check kind of keeping things similar with Danit and Cloudy in the lineup. Seems like these two have been the focal points, and it looks like this first round is not going to be a bad one for them either.
Yeah, a lot of May as well to come through on Antarctic Peninsula. Lots of really closed off hallways, very tight chokes where the May can find a lot of value, which is potentially why we actually see not the Moira nor the Ana, but the Baptiste to be able to circumvent if your tank does indeed get isolated by that May wall, exo boot over to be able to continue that burst heal.
Well, they're going to rock also with that Baptiste. Meanwhile, both sides running it too. Cookie teleporting out. So is Danit. We'll see if any of these Symmetra players stick on it. Looks like Danit does. Meanwhile, Cookie obviously swaps to their well-known Sojourn at this point. SR Peak Check taking a bit of a longer angle around the point.
Vestola going to be on that ram, so wanting to continue that long angle, like you said, applying so much pressure onto SR Peak Check, who need to get Cloudy in, most likely with a Symmetra TP to close up the distance, but your shield isn't gone the second you actually step into a fight.
Nice Maywall combined to zone out that back line as Mamone try to take down the teleporter via that top left. I didn't know that's the spot you could put the TP. Well, Team's kind of taking some poke. Charge early goes through. Oh my god, Mo took the side of Cloudy's charge. Pushes them off of the map. Dandit also checks out Bastola. Kaneo also falls. What a play from Cloudy. They do lose Fi at the end, but the point was already under the control.
What a bait! What a bait! Sim TP! Everyone from EXO sees the Sim TP pop up on that right side and has to turn and deal with it. And that's when Fi actually uses that Mei wall. And then when the Mei wall drops, the illusion is shattered and LH Cloudy is within charging distance of being able to bowling pin EXO's members off into the unknown. And SRP check are in control of the point first.
Explodione walk over to this left side, but Cloudy's already there. Early wall from Fi, they bait it out. And also Fi finds Crispy too. Nice right click icicle from them to find that Lucio. However, Dala gets traded out by Kaneo. Nice 1-for-1 so far. Both Lucios removed. Meanwhile, Maywall still here from Fi. Actually catches out 2 members of Explodione before that lamp could even come through. And they kill them with that amplification matrix as well. Cloudy's able to get Vistola out of there. 60% of the board now for SRP check.
Yeah, when you lose that Lucio, it's normally the disengagements that are the most punished. So SRP check, understanding that they still have control of that choke, they're still going to be able to set Fi up to an absolute killer. May will hold their ground, even if they do get pressured. Like you said, they're going to have Mickey's amplification matrix to fall back onto, and Cloudy is essentially going to get a free shatter too.
There's that shatter and actually connects onto Kaneo, but they can't find the follow-up damage onto them. Cloudy actually goes a bit too far. Cookie, nice work from him to get him, but also Dala, what a double boop! Maymon and Kaneo both off the map. They also have the symmetry wall to play around if they needed it, but they still have time for Cloudy to come back. Only missing 1 Bastola though. That's a great opening trade. Cookie also commits the overclock to 2. Dala, Dandit both falling immediately. Mickey as well. Recontest by Explodione is swift, and they needed it.
Yeah, but here's the problem. EXO's ultimate economy is absolutely shot. Cookie had to use the overclock to be able to clutch and finish out that fight determinedly. Vestola's going to have to essentially use Annihilation to be able to bait out this Blizzard from Fi or the Sound Barrier from Dala, otherwise SRP check can literally just place his in.
Dandit TP's through. Kaneo again gets walled off, has the immortality field for himself, jumps over the top though with the regenerative burst, able to stay alive with the double beats popped as well. Fi, meanwhile, commits the Blizzard onto Bastola, who committed the Annihilation, and he's taken out. That point's being flipped. Crispy's able to find Mickey, but Dandit has already found Cookie, and that's a lot of your damage already gone with Bastola's Annihilation and Cookie's overall damage on the Sojourner. Memo commits the Blizzard last second, but there's no real follow-up. Crispy comes through to touch the point in the objective. Kaneo eventually will as well over the backside of that Maywall. With the Doomfist back, they do have members here, but they still have to wait for Cookie to come back, and all that damage is missing. Dandit's able to find Crispy. The Symmetry Beam is getting charged now for Dandit. You do have the Immortality Field to sustain versus it. Maybe if you could jump on a Dandit, this might result in something, but SRP check are too well aware of what Explodione are trying to do, and they take round number 1.
Yeah, as well as when you rush onto those hero comp swaps, you do reset a vast majority of your ultimate charge, and the second that SRP check is able to build up into that amp matrix, there's nothing that EXO have to really be able to sustain through it. Bastola had gone for the Doomfist to be able to go for the faster rollout and touch the point, as opposed to something like the Junker Queen, who maybe is going to be able to cheat amp matrix sustainability with that shout, but it just doesn't happen, as now we're actually going to head not to labs but to sub-level. And this is going to be a little bit more concerning for SRP's composition, right? There's a lot more focus on high ground levels here. So if EXO are able to take this first fight, then Vistola's Vortexes in particular are going to be absolutely brutal in denying rotations for this wine.
Have to see if we get some good TPs off. SRP check, walk through that choke point early on. See how aggressive they want to play. Dandit already takes a headshot from the Icicle and fails the follow-up damage. Nice work from W Maymon and Kaneo to combine that kill onto Dandit. And with that space, SRP check back up temporarily.
Yeah, lots of shield pressure coming through from EXO's composition. Cookie can literally just chip away a Cloudy shield until Maymon is able to find the pick. However, Fi takes Crispy down, and SRP check can I get aggressive.
Amazing shot. Both Mays. Cookie also gets deleted by Dandit's Symmetry turrets over the top side. Cloudy connects onto Kaneo and to get the fire strike kill. Dala also finds Vistola. SRP checker actually claimed the point first.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cookie power slid directly into that Symmetry turret. And as a result, SRP check now are going to be in position again for FiE's Maywills to find more value. Ex-Oblivione, some of their rotations are going to be majorly cut off. They can't go this high ground little room because they're walking into the Symmetra turrets entirely there, and instead it's just going to be that poke phase as EXO decide to go straight for point.
They walk Pistola towards that objective. Meanwhile, FiE building towards that Blizzard incredibly quickly. He's already 80%. Meanwhile, Maymon's stuck at 60. Mickey over the top trying to come back to support FiE towards that point as well. They know that Blizzard's coming up. Cloudy wants to go aggressive. Maybe force off Ex-Oblivione of the point. Already 40% built. They have the Ant Matrix on Mickey's side committed. On to Pistola, who now just has that shield just in the nick of time. Very aggressive shots from Mickey. Not really going for heals just yet, but they commit back of the point as well, knowing that the Ant Matrix of Nail is about to be popped. FiE uses the Blizzard to zone it out. Meanwhile, Pistola tries to counter the Mei. Cloudy will drop off the high ground with the charge, but it's into that Blizzard now. Both Lucio and Reinhardt are stuck in that Blizzard, and the follow-up damage is there. Perfect Blizzard from W. Maymon, Cookie, and the rest of Ex-Oblivione are able to follow up on it, and now no more ults are needed. That point is going to be Flynn.
Yeah, EXO doing a very good job of understanding that Immortality Field had already been used on SRP check side to be able to allow them to safely rotate away from Kanail's AMP, and as a result, the Blizzard comes through and they instantly target focus Cloudy, who was so close to that Shadow. If he'd survived, it would potentially have been curtains, especially because Ex-Oblivione are going to be relying on Cookie's overclock and Vistola's annihilation to keep SRP check at bay, but they just drop the symbol and teleport to point.
Yeah, that's after Cloudy took a lot of shield damage. Meanwhile, Shatter over the back onto Pistola connects, but the Immortality Field from Kanail is there. Meanwhile, Crispy can commit the beat and Annihilation re-engage. Everybody's so low for SRP check with the overclock via the high ground Cookie! Oh my god, welcome back. 5K for them.
There's a reason that Cookie was touted as the best Sojourn in EMEA back in A-Sides last year. He won Munich, that competition, because of his Sojourn play, and it's just honestly really good team synergy from EXO. Pistola with the Vortex slows down the rotation from SRP check, keeps them locked inside the Annihilation, so Cookie doesn't have to wait for the overclock to be able to power up to 100 every single shot, just gets to match every single player for health bar. As SRP check now still have to try and deal with EXO, who at least don't have ultimates for this next fight.
They commit the Ant Matrix, but there's too much cover to really get a lot of value from it. Meanwhile, Cloudy's the one getting value. Already diving on W Maymo via the backside. Cookie's able to find one onto Danit, but Pistola is so low. Needs those heals from Kanail. They are coming through. Cookie's able to find Mickey. So no more healing really besides just this Lucio on the point. Cloudy's going to be in desperation mode, trying to avoid some of this damage from Crispy, but he eventually will go down to Kanail. Great work from the Baptiste of Ex-Oblivione. SRP check did claim that point back, though. FiE is able to find Cookie, and they still have the beat drop, so although Ex-Oblivione were in a decent spot, they have to temporarily back up and wait. Now they do so. Pistola walks into the point where FiE is at the moment. Does have that support from the Baptiste now. Eventually, Mickey will come back with a Blizzard from W. Maymo to zone out the beat drop counter against Cloudy. Goes very far with the charge into the back line, but Maymon's able to find FiE. Knowing that FiE is removed, Cloudy now has to back up, go for a counter charge, and gets W Maymo, but the Immortality Field keeps them alive. Kanail, oh my god. But Danit, with the Symmetra, able to find two, still able to get some beam going, and in fact, they capture the point and get the win on Antarctic Peninsula, taking map number 1.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Everyone from EXO is relying on that Mei. They're keeping SRP check from just pressing W and pressuring that front line, moving on to that Ramatra and just brawling away with that hammer swing. And because we actually see that Maymon, unfortunately, has to ice block and then wall to save themselves once Immortality Field is out and after that charge has come through, the Mei being removed, that slow not being there to keep that Reinhardt at an arm's length, Cloudy is unleashed. And this team, now that they're using the Symmetra TP to be able to avoid so much of that Rein's weaknesses in these rotations where you can poke and pressure that shield down, is looking invigorated.
Oh my god, man, that was so good for SRP check. Meanwhile, I mean, this is going to be a close matchup. We talked about it being an incredibly anticipated one. I mean, it was so back and forth, right, Moxie, on that first match?
It really was. SRP check did a very good job as well of just anticipating when they needed to rotate onto the point after they'd lost control of it. Never to go for the high ground, because that's where the Reinhardt composition is always going to be at its most vulnerable against that Ramatra poke. Always just TPing directly underneath the point so that they're out of line of sight, and they force the drop down. They force everyone from the side of EXO off of the advantaged angle for that Sojin to be able to find those early picks and into the Reinhardt, because you're literally dropping down into a brawl where Orion is already set up and is able to land those anticipating fire strikes and already chunk you down so low, and a lot of the time force things like Immortality Field out early and push you up against a Mei wall as well. Really good synergy coming through from SRP Check. Fires walls every single time they're in control of a choke. Devastating to deal with.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, obviously, I think over here in EMEA, it's been this thing where we see a lot of these kind of, I'm not going to say one tricks necessarily, but a lot of, you know, like the yeahs, right? Like the SRP checks, even in this case, running Dannon on the Symmetra, Cloudy on the Ryan. It seems to be a very good strategy for a lot of teams just to continue to kind of play out these compositions that are maybe a little bit out of the ordinary. Meanwhile, the next map being chosen will be New Bonnie for Exoblivione. Obviously, you got to be happy with this map pick, right, Moxie, for this team?
Yeah, Exoblivione immediately decide to take us somewhere where the Reinhardt is going to incredibly struggle. This is a dive-heavy composition map. A lot of focus on the high ground. We could potentially still see SRP Check decide to field LH Cloudy, because again, they're running Daned on that Symmetra to be able to navigate from the high ground to the low ground to erase over that Ryan's weaknesses. We could potentially also see Ice come in to play for this team. Ice was a player that you and I both saw last time in the spring series, had a very prolific diva, as well as being able to play towards something like the Ramatra, with Vestola being able to flex between both the Ram and the diva. Exoblivione are very much the driving seat for this map. I'm keeping my eyes locked on whether or not we are going to see a sub to come through, or if SRP Check are going to decide to actually keep Cloudy in. We could potentially even see the legendary Cloudy Diva.
We could. I mean, it's definitely possible. It was something that we saw. You know, was it as soon as last season, Moxie?
Yep.
Did we saw Claudia on the Diva? I mean, it's definitely not necessarily bad. Yeah, he's played the Reaper as well. I mean, he's shown a lot of flexibility, so you might as well, you know, potentially have that for him. I mean, that is kind of the new thing for tanks, though, right? Is that you have to be able to have, you know, a lot of those heroes in your hero pool. Even if you're not that good at them, you still have to practice a lot of those, like, you know, off tanks if you're a main tank player, and then off main tanks if you're an off tank. It's so interesting because it's already been like a year since Overwatch 2's release, and yet we're still talking about you know, a lot of these main tank players and off tank players when it hasn't been a role for years now.
Remember when Overwatch 2 like first made that jump, we would see just so many C9s, because everybody would be like, oh, this is when the off tank touches the point. Wait, we don't have an off tank anymore. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
still carried through somewhat. It does now sort of fall to the Lucio to be able to instigate that contest, as your tank is a lot of the time having to just body through so much damage that comes out from the other side. But like you said, it's really interesting to see a lot of these tank players, whether or not they've made that jump to be able to flex between what we would traditionally dub an off tank, or they've just focused and remained looking at things like that main tank role. Ramatra sort of threw a little bit of a spanner into the works, considering he's a tempo tank, right? You can kind of call him a main tank when he's in Nemesis, but he also sort of sometimes feels like an off tank, but he doesn't have that avenue of peel. However, something that does have avenue of peel is going to be the substitution coming through. SRP Check not going to be running Portal Reinhardt this time. It's going to be Ice coming through to be able to play the Diva and allow this team to dive.
Yeah, apparently, by the way, my internet went out for a second there, Moxie, so I missed a little bit of what you said. I mean, Arizona internet moment, honestly, with this situation, I'll concede to you, Moxie. Okay, European internet greater as it currently stands. But yeah, I think for, you know, SRP Check, this is going to be an interesting swap for them, Moxie. Like I said, I DC'd for a second, so I don't know if you covered some things that we're already talking about, but what do you think about this? What do you think about the swap coming in for SRP Check with putting QRXU in, and obviously Ice is what you kind of predicted, right?
Yeah, I think it's necessary, right? You need to be able to run that dive. You need to be able to have the Diva. Not only do you have to worry about controlling the high ground and the low ground jumps, you also have to worry about peeling for your backline, given how easy it can be for the attacking team, if left unchecked, to be able to send something like a Tracer all the way through backside, creep up onto the high ground, and press the Ana off of that specific angle.
All right, well, let's see if it works out for them on New Bonnie. Obviously, like you said, you got to make something up versus Exoblivione, but you did win that map number 1, right? So you do have at least the map advantage, especially against Oblivione when, you know, you were able to shut out Cookie popping off on that Sojourn, Canale as well on the Baptiste in quick 2-0 fashion. So, I mean, you'd think that they'd be able to deal with it as well. And, you know, SRP Check, I would say for them, it seems like Moxie in the offseason, they've really figured some things out with getting Ice and obviously QRXU able to flex a bit more, you know, away from Danit and Cloudy potentially. Yeah,
not just that flexibility, but also potentially Fi being able to go into that Echo, as well as Dollars to be able to go for the Mercy 2 pocket, because EXO on the defense have committed to this. Cookie is going to be on the Ashe, Crispy is going to be there not to damage boost the Viper, but to damage boost W Maimon on the Echo, so that they're going to be able to chunk these targets down incredibly low. And this, again, is where that Diva mech is almost a necessity, right? To be able to eat up a lot of that poke pressure coming through from the Echo, so that a target doesn't immediately drop below 50%. And leave them also vulnerable to that focusing beam.
Well, meanwhile, SRP Check set up Ice Nom on the high ground, waiting for Fi to go coastal via that. Maybe dive onto the Diva early on. Pistola gets poked down. They try to dive onto Pistola, but Pistola, understanding that, kind of just backs up. Still wants to control the high ground, however. Does have the double pocket from Canale and Crispy in that situation. Cookie gets anti-grenaded as they walk out, but QRXU gets slept. A nice sleep dart from Canale to stop down. QRXU also gets hit by a little bit of those grenades. Meanwhile, Ice Nom takes a lot of poke damage. They're going incredibly low at the moment. Nobody falls necessarily just yet. Fi's still set up on that off angle, not necessarily looking for a direct dive, which is kind of causing QRXU to be in a rough spot. Now we'll set up an aggressive angle. W Maimon seeing that wants to dive towards QRXU, drop the grenades off, has not able to find the kill just yet, just trying to poke out a lot of damage. Meanwhile, Mickey has built up the nano boost, has it ready to go. Nice sleep dart as well to slow down Pistola. Nano engaged onto Ice Nom, who then tries to go aggressive, but Cookie comes out on top onto QRXU, who's kind of stuck on that high ground during this fight. It's been tough for them. Meanwhile, Resurrect can't come through either because the copy from W Maimon is there, as well as Pistola just pressuring that backline, making sure no res could come through. Now has that copy Diva Bomb too, and it's going to be hard to run from it. They do avoid it for now, but Dalla still falls to Pistola, and as does Mickey. Nice hold so far for Oblivione.
Yeah, W Maimon still applying pressure, and they will be able to find a stagger pick onto Fire's. Ice is forced to just go off of the map to reset and rejoin the team in time. This is where you're actually going to see a little bit of a danger with this composition that SRP Check are running. A lot of damage, but unfortunately it takes a very slow rotation to actually begin to apply pressure onto Canale's position. There's no tracer, and the Echo can't just immediately try and collapse onto the Ana, because you go right into line of sight of Cookie if you do.
Now they set up above the high ground. Fi gets the copy, so we can go for the dive now, but immediately loses the copied mech, so no Diva Bomb built up in that fight either. Stuck in Baby Diva form. W Maimon does have the nano. Goes above to the high ground. Cookie with the dynamite burns out Mickey as well. Fi and the copy will lose the mech, and eventually will lose their life too to Pistola. Dalla does get the res on Mickey and Main, but now they're down 5 with 1 minute and 30 seconds left. W Maimon goes aggressive past the bus, but notices it's a bit too far and backs up for now.
Yeah, Oblivione cannot overcommit at the moment, not with QRXU being so close to that. Bob can just throw it on the point, because SRP Check only need 1 tick of this point to be able to push us into streets. Oblivione needs to be able to use this duplicate. They can use it to let W Maimon be a little bit more aggressive, given it replenishes the health bar. There's the Bob immediately from QRXU to pressure the point and force EXO away.
It is slept with W Maimon over the top of the copy, ready to dive on a QRXU, who's now stuck at the Mega Health Pack. Comes back through. Pistola had to use the Diva Bomb earlier. Ice Nom gets poked down so low. Not even close to the Diva Bomb either. In fact, loses the mech. QRXU able to find W Maimon's copied mech, but eventually Ice Nom loses their mech and their life. Surely this is going to be a quick reset for SRP Check.
Oh no, they get that saga.
Hello.
Mickey goes down. I don't know if Doll actually has the res available. 35 seconds left. SRP Check can wait for the Ana to come back naturally, but it's such a gamble that you're actually going to be able to cap onto that point, because Oblivione, in the time that you're waiting to be able to wrangle together this attacking dive, is building up to both the Nano and the Bob that can be used to heal the Nano that SRP Check have available.
I'd like to see SRP Check maybe dive on a Canale a bit more here, or at least have a bit more coordinated of a dive. It seems like Canale's just able to do whatever he wants. Sleep Dart, go on to the Echo in the sky. Meanwhile, counter Nano comes through. Cookie didn't lose their life either there. Both Echoes nanoed in this fight. No deaths just yet. Both respecting that ground. Pistola comes through to touch the point. Does have the Valkyrie on Crispy's side with the Bob to zone it out as well. Icenom has to touch, use that Diva Bomb towards that point, but who's able to touch in overtime? 97% of the board. Bob gets booped around. Dalla gets the res onto Mickey, who died in the main. Pistola gets the counter mech in Baby Diva form as well. Copy comes through onto W. Maymon, able to just run through onto 5 before he can get the copy. Booped away from anybody who can get the copy. Bob comes through from QRXU with a down there Echo. Copy Diva Bomb as well from W Maymon to zone. Bob goes down to 1 HP, but still is pumping damage and finds Kanale at 1 HP, but who could touch? It's the Baby Diva of Icenom. Dalla eventually will get burnt down. Nobody else here for SR Peak check, and they get stopped at 97%. Great hold for Exoblivione.
Yeah, I was concerned when I saw a lack of Tracer come through from the side of SR Peak check. We saw what happens, right? If you're able to find that immediate kill with the burst damage of just the Echo and the Ashe getting that crossfire, getting so much more room on paper, that they're able to use that space and push onto the higher grounds and force Exoblivione into stepping away and around corner to be able to regroup, thus giving up 2 free ticks of that point. But it's when you're picking up that last tick that it really does become a brutal way to be able to try and aggress onto that Ana. Exoblivione had very little that they actually needed to do to be able to peel. If Kanale was just there next to Vestola, QRXU and Fi just weren't going to be able to find the early pick, even if they're able to navigate past the Diva mech. Crispy's just going to be there with the Resurrection, and because you don't have the means of sending a Tracer in to threaten that space with something like Pulse Bomb, it's going to be down to your Diva to try and use those boosters and camp that res, and it just doesn't happen.
I mean, in these are new pickups too, right, Moxie, with Ice and QRXU coming in. Do you think that for SR Peak check, you know, in Dubani, it's a hard point to really to capture on point A without a lot of team synergy, right? So do you think that the fact that there's such new pickups could be messing with them at the moment?
Yeah, it could be a little bit of that coming through. We didn't really get to see either Icenom, QRXU, or even Fi really playing off of targets that they all had brought down low. Everyone was sort of focusing down everything else. More specifically, Vestola too was just doing a very good job of making themselves a much bigger, beefier target so that the Diva would be the one that SRP Check tried to go for first, leaving that backline and even the DPS so much more free. As EXO also deciding to move away from the Tracer and just go for damage burst instead.
Okay, let's see if it works out for them. Everyone via the coastal side looks to take that duel in the sky. Slow it down for now, though. They're ready to push off that Diva. Meanwhile, oh, they're flanking via that all the way
Tracer
around.
flank.
On that flank angle, Mickey goes for the sleep before dropping off the high ground, understanding that his flank is exposed to W. Maymon. The dynamite there from Cookie as well. Mickey anti-grenaded. Will eventually just burn out to it, too. W. Maymon finds Dalla, so both supports are moved already. Absolutely clinical from Exoblivione. QRXU has found Pistola, but the rest of their team is entirely removed. With 3 minutes on the clock, it looked like Exoblivione just took this point A so quickly and will even the series 1-1.
It's a full team kill. In one fell swoop, Exoblivione have the absolute perfect rotation. We were talking about why that flank is so devastating to a defense. You saw it in full motion. The second that the Echo is able to make their way and invade that backline, everyone from SRP Check is forced into full defensive position, and that just allows Cookie to be able to come in and land these really clutch dynamites that just continue forcing the full team back, and that opens up even more space for W. Maymon, who doesn't need that high ground position anymore. There isn't an Ana that you need to force off of the angle, nor an Ashe that you're concerned about. You literally drop down with the damage boost and beam every single person, and you go through an entire team like butter, and more specifically, you burst them down so quickly, no one can regroup, no one can formulate ultimates, and no one can try and recontest. The easiest push from Numbani, the fastest push from Numbani, I think we're yet to see in Contenders so far.
For sure. Yeah, and that's going to be our game number 1 so far. We're tied up 1-1, but we do have to go to a short break. When we come back, we'll see you guys for that number 3 of game number 1 of Summer Series and Contenders. So be right back in just a bit. Welcome back, everybody. We have this matchup between Explosione and Team SRP Check. 1-1 so far. Obviously, map number 1 did go in favor of SRP Check, but map number 2, Moxie, that was a convincing Explosione win.
Yeah, so SRP Check do have two sides to them, right? They look immensely strong when they're playing this Reinhardt composition. You can see that it's probably the thing that they've versed in the most as well, being able to use that Sim TP, being able to push Clyde to the absolute forefront and get as aggressive as he wants to. The dive, however, needs some work. Definitely needs some work. We were talking about this during the break. Kaneo was just so free. Like, that trap that you fall into where there's an Echo on the other side, you feel like you're sort of pressured into fielding an Echo to mirror it, but because you were just so occupied trying to deal with the D.Va mech and the Echo on the other side, who is being damage boosted by the Mercy, Kaneo just gets to live for free, and every single time they made any sort of progress or find any kill, the sustainability was just there, and Exo would stubbornly remain on that point, like a cat having 9 lives. It felt like being able to make sure that you didn't manage to find that full team kill, and therefore didn't manage to find all of the progress in one fight, the way we saw Exo manage to pull it off. However, benefit is, losing Numbani, you do get to choose where we go for the next map. So if you feel like you're going to be strong with the Reinhardt composition, you do have the ability to take a summer where the Rein is going to be stronger.
Yeah, and that's, what is it, Escort now map coming up? I mean, what do you think they pick? I mean, obviously, we can see it now. Next map is where I was going to try to go to some discussion for that, but there's no discussion here. In fact, it's just going to be SRP Check taking us to Circuit Royale of all maps.
Okay, so this isn't going to be Cloudy coming back in. This is going to be Ice still staying in, I'm pretty sure. What we're probably going to see, however, is Sigma versus Sigma. Vestola and Iceman can both flex onto the Sigma, can use that shield to be able to block off a lot of these avenues and angles. It's going to be a DPS battle. It really is. Yes, there's going to be additional pressure coming through from your supports, more specifically that Zenyatta, to be able to try and hound the shield down and take advantage of when it is in that downtime, trying to find those volleys and land those headshots. But at the end of the day, Circuit, with its really nice, long, open, clear line of sights, it's just a shooting range. It really is. This is what the snipers need to pop off.
Yeah, and, you know, obviously with Explosione too, if they want, they could run that double flex support now too, right? With Skyripper in the lineup. So that's definitely something they could potentially do. I don't know if they will necessarily pull that out, considering, you know, if they get hard locked on double flex support and against like some sort of line comp, it could be difficult. But obviously, you know, we have yet to see on this map. We'll have to wait. Obviously, substitutes still coming through. Mox, do you think either team is going to mix things up? Maybe sub somebody in here for Circuit Royale?
I don't think we're going to see substitutions. I think we could see potentially a wrinkle come through of Cookie actually pick up the Sojourn. Potentially, just because we did see it used to absolutely devastating effect in Antarctic Peninsula, and Cookie and Maimon can both play snipers, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not one team tries to field something like the Hanzo, but SRP Check! Okay!
Oh, they're putting in...
Grab the portal gun, Dustin! We're going back in! We're going to be playing with portals! Are we going to see the attempted Maywall with the Smetcha TP from attacker spawn over onto top side of Catwalk on defense? Oh my goodness, I would be so happy if we see it. But
Isn't that rule breaking though? Isn't that rule breaking though? You should like the TP over the top right of the attacking point.
Oh yeah, it is now.
Yeah, it's like a micro what do they call it, pixel spot or whatever. I don't know if that's, they don't even they ban like everything now. I don't get that. Like they just like ban, you know, Maywall TPs. Listen, man, I know we work with the admins here and all of our admins are awesome. Let's get those unbanned, though. You know what I'm saying? I want some more of the wacky, zany TPs, especially with Danid. You know, why not, right? Have some of those funny spots. But this makes sense, right? Moxie putting in Cloudy and Danid back in, because we saw last game, maybe there's some synergistical issues with Ice and QRXU at the moment. Yeah,
it also does mean, however, that you are going to be pretty restricted in terms of this Reinhardt composition is either going to work amazingly well, or you're really going to suffer because the Symmetra TP is going to be spotted out. The shenanigans too, where you use that Symmetra TP to force EXO to turn around and try and deal with the Symmetra TP before the full Reinhardt composition dropped on their heads, is going to be pretty much predictable now as well. So if I's going to be able to sort of use that Maywall as a curtain to disguise the magic trick, the swap Rue illusion, it's going to have to be a lot faster than we saw on Control, and it was already pretty fast to begin with.
Well, let's go into This next map, obviously, Circuit Royale being that map number 3. You know, I would say map number 1 was incredibly close, but with Dandit and Cloudy in the lineup, I mean, this team, this SRP check lineup seems to be pretty good. Like, even though things, you know, at points aren't really, like, obviously, quote-unquote meta. It's not a lot of what people are playing necessarily. It seems like Cloudy and Dandit together kind of just figure things out with this SRP check lineup and just have great timings.
Yeah, I worry. Again, like I said, this Reinhardt composition is either going to work amazingly and everything goes to plan. You use the Symmetra TP to be able to bounce around all of these angles without having to worry about your shield breaking and Cookie and Maimon being able to find those early first picks. Or the Symmetra TP is going to be punished. Cloudy is not going to be able to move the shield as versatilely as something like a Sigma to be able to block off these angles. And we're going to see SRP get battered and picked off early time after time after time. But what we are going to see from SRP is a significant mix-up in terms of how close they're going to hold. Whether or not they go for the small room, whether or not they go directly above the rooftop and try and drop down on Exo's spawn. We'll have to wait and see until that Symmetra TP comes on cooldown again.
Well, there they go, right close to that spawn door. 5 seconds left to go. TP plays also.
How are you there?
Still here. I don't know. It's a weird spot, huh? Nowadays, I don't know. People have been talking about that if that's legal or not, but it is where Lucios like to sit these days for some reason. I don't know how they do it. Yeah, it's like through their butt to that wall. WMAMO though on that cart is pushing. Cloudy understanding that tries to dash back to it. Is now a little bit out of position. Just trying to stop the cart, trying to tell his team to come back. Goes incredibly low though. From the poke, Crispy eventually takes Cloudy down. Was warning where his team was. Mickey also falls, so does Dala. And Exoblivione have worked their way through getting on that payload already.
And that is the danger. When the Reinhardt doesn't have the team and the Symmetra teleport comes through a little bit too late because Exoblivione already have that above angle, so that even if Cloudy's there with the shield, it's not going to actually be able to block the kill to come through. Really smart play from WMAMO, and sees that Cloudy's going to be trying to hold as close to the spawn door as possible, just goes for that pressure on the payload to force this composition away, as Maimon once again is just trying to build up to this EMP so quickly.
Now, cart pushing forward for Exoblivione. Dandit tries to walk towards that cart. A lot of poke damage already being thrown their way. Meanwhile, Cloudy goes down again with that Discord and also the damage via WMAMO. Cookie also finds Dala. Dandit eventually with the Symmetra turret will take down Dala or Cookie on the back side, but SRP without their tank. They're in a bit of a dicey situation, delving towards that Symmetra wall, but an EMP is there from WMAMO just to close out on the remaining members of SRP.
Yeah, take a look as well at the backline that Exoblivione are running, because Crispy is traditionally on the Lucio, but he's actually flexed onto the Ana for one specific reason, the sleep dart. Every single time Cloudy goes for a charge, he drops that shield. He leaves himself vulnerable to either being hacked or slapped, and every single time we see him go down early, it's off of the back of Ana utility.
Now, Symmetra wall here. Cloudy and the rest of our SRP playing around the backside. Dala is able to get Canale as well. Third recontest came through for SRP. Perfect recontest for them. Mickey does find Crispy. Cookie finds Cloudy, and then also with the Annihilation here, it could be enough, but Vistola's Annihilation eventually will run out. Cookie's able to find the damage on the Dandit too, since that Reinhardt is no longer here. SRP only have that Blizzard to play around the cart. Maybe knowing that, just tries to shut out 5. Dala has to come through for the peel, force away that Symmetra. By the way, Cloudy has returned yet again, and Mickey on this off angle has been great. The lamp's gone. Cookie, oh my god, what a shot! As he was trying to fall back down to his team. Blizzard here to try to zone out Vistola. He could potentially get frozen, but avoids that charge. Great work from Vistola to avoid that for now. Also with the Discord, Cloudy has to go on the inside shield, being pressured out so much, but the beat drop re-engage eventually comes through. Exoblivione still has some ultimates to work with here. Cloudy goes so low, and Vistola is able to find him with a nano boost as well via the pummel and Nemesis 4, and Maimon is able to get Dandit too. Eventually, Fi will be out of Ice Block form. A lot of time off the clock, but Exoblivione will take point A.
And they've got snowball potential too. Yes, they had to use Nano, but that just supercharges Vistola's Annihilation charge. More importantly for XO, WMAMO has EMP, and Dollar just invested Sound Barrier to try and sustain the team through the last fight. Now, Maimon doesn't have to find the hack onto the Lucio. He can just go for the full team.
Now, SRP walking. Clowny gets slept early on. WMAMO with that sets up the EMP. and Vi's already gone. Cloudy goes through with the charge, but with this Discord Orb, there's nothing that Cloudy's really been able to do. Danit gets poked out, eventually falls as well.
Yeah, again, SRP trying to go for that sort of background Symmetra TP play where Cloudy goes for that charge into the back line. Just doesn't work out because WMaimo just waits for where that teleport's going to pop up, throws the translocator, and catches the rotation with that EMP. Cookie now going to be sitting on Dragon Strike. Vestola going to have that Annihilation to be able to zone any contest that comes through from SRP check. And even if Cloudy finds a pick with the Shatter, Kanale has the Transcendence to allow EXO to hold the round.
This is so tough at the moment. Shields already being burned down. Dragon Strike early just to make sure SRPJ can't set up either. Counter Symmetra Wall from Danit is there. Cloudy able to zone some space, but because they use Symmetra Wall, Explode to back up, give them that space for now.
Nice time though. Mickey is now going to have Ant Matrix to try and burst Vestola down in Annihilation form.
Using the Symmetra Walls, Danit sets up on this right side. Cloudy tries to go in for a bit of a early charge play. Hacked so he can't go further though. And the anti is there onto Cloudy as well. Slows down what SRP Check are trying to do right now, but Exoblivione are totally fine with this, just taking the spam with Kanale onto Cloudy's shield. It's already removed. He's down to 200 health. Needs the Immortality Field, charges out. Ant Matrix over the top to maybe give them some room to work with. But Vestola is totally safe right now around the payload. Now pops the Annihilation. Will charge into Cloudy, and Cloudy's gone. Cookie's able to find them after the shield gets removed. Vi able to get Crispy. Transcendence here, though, to keep everybody healthy via the Blizzard. Cookie also finds Danit as they tried to push in to follow up on the Blizzard. And Exoblivione, it seems like they found their footing as they capture out the second phase.
Yeah, this is the problem with SRP Check's composition, right? Unless they have that Symmetra TP, that engagement is going to be incredibly risky. For Exoblivione, because all of these heroes are just so mobile in their own right, the second they see your weakness, the second that they see one of those abilities, like Immortality Field or Sound Barrier on cooldown for SRP Check, they get a heavily commit in and incredibly fast off of the top of that as well, as WMaimo has another EMP. Oh no, he gets 4!
He gets 4 as they drop him, and they find Kanale at the very least and can use the Immortality Field though. However, it's 1-for-1. Mickey's able to get Cookie. That was a lot of the damage besides Vestola, who on the Ramatra has been looking amazing. WMaimo also found Mickey, and sadly for SRP Check, this push is all for naught again.
Yeah, I'm really not for this Reinhardt composition on Circuit Royale if it's struggling this much with the teleport plays just being too predictable in terms of the pathing where they end up. But he does at least have a Shatter to try and buy time for SRP Check with the forward spawn. Balled into this Blizzard, but Cookie, with the help of a hack, is going to be able to find Mickey. No Baptiste, no Immortality Field to allow Cloudy to hold around corner.
I mean, Cookie's been free on the Hanzo, but he's been looking good. Dragon Strike early on to Cloudy as well. I mean, he has to sit in it. Dives to the Vortex. Now the Symmetra Wall comes through, but Vestola can just smash through it. Counter Blizzard used by Fi there as well. Able to get Crispy. Vestola's frozen as well. Danit also finds Kanale. Cookie will shut down Danit. And, you know, maybe if they can get this fight win, it'll enter last fight territory for Exoblivione.
Yeah, but Exoblivione are going to have a major advantage in this next fight territory. WMaimo is going to have EMP, Vesola's going to have Annihilation, Crispy and Kanale both coming in terms of support ultimates, as well as we can have a look at that replay. Fi's Blizzard absolutely clutch. More importantly, means that Cloudy doesn't need to use that Shatter, as Danit actually goes for the Bastion. No more Symmetra, is now just trying to find the burst damage to try and chunk these targets of Exo down before Vestola's in position to use Annihilation.
Well, WMaimo's on the cart, so everybody looks towards him. Actually, Mickey falls, but can jump back through that high ground. Not a lot of meters left to go before Exoblivione capture out. Cloudy sitting over the left, has that Shatter ready to go. Good angle to play through. EMP is here though, and then Cloudy and Fi both fall. So does Dala with a nano boost on Vestola. And only 6 seconds left. Not a lot of people that can touch this cart for SRP Check now, and Exoblivione will capture out with 2.7 seconds left.
Yeah, the Bastion swap, it's smart, right? You're not going to really be able to use the Sim to full capacity against a team that's just so heavily touted in terms of poke. And if you're not going to be able to build up an ultimate or a one-shot potential, go for the Bastion burst damage, which sometimes does feel like you're walking into an ultimate when wheels are up. The problem is that Exoblivione just have the EMP, have the sustainability, which allows them to play so aggressively with that EMP's positioning, and LH Cloudy is target number 1. The second that EMP comes through, Everyone on EXO's side wants to remove them. Reinhardt wants to remove the potential of that shatter, since Vestola's shield is so telegraphed. And when that Rein is removed, floodgates open, and EXO are able to clean up circuit. However, SR Peakcheck did a very valuable job of being able to clean up a lot of time from the bank. When you look at how fast that point A push was, the fact that it was almost into overtime is really good for this team.
Well, you know, Watsu, what's interesting is that map was chosen by SR Peakcheck, right? Or I mean, the map's already still going on. It's chosen by SR Peakcheck, but, you know, they're running this Reinhardt composition, and obviously they want to get time off the clock, but, you know, with Oblivion capturing out with 2.7 seconds on a very lengthy map that is Circuit Royale, you have to be worried for SR Peakcheck now on their attack, right?
Yeah, I think, however, that the Symmetra TP finds more value on the attack, right? You can be a lot more aggressive in terms of where you teleport to. Even if you don't find a pick off of it, you're still going to be forcing Oblivion off of these angles so Cookie doesn't find that space to be able to look for the one-shots. That's what this composition is all about when you run the Rhyme, when you run that Symmetra TP. You literally teleport across main road so that Cookie doesn't find any opening shot.
They actually TP early, like you said, up to that high ground. They're getting cart space. Oblivion fine with this at the moment. They just want to take the next angle around the corner, make sure SR Peakcheck can't set up. Hack already comes through. On to fight. W-Min on the Sombra has been a nuisance. Well, thorn in the side of SR Peakcheck at the moment. Like I said, that space kind of given. Almost under that bridge already. Mickey now jumps above to dive onto W-Min over the top. Meanwhile, his team kind of leaves him behind. Using that May wall here. Trying to split at the moment. Fi has to use Ice Block. Cooldown already removed. Oblivion is still sitting back, trying to spam out Danid on the left side flank. Nice wall to keep Danid safe, though.
W-Min almost has EMP.
Oh, yeah, that EMP already almost built up 90%. Mickey's able to find Canale, though, before really any kills could come through for Oblivion's side. Bastola also falls. Cookie will trade back Cloudy, but not without his team. Without speed, I'm not sure they're going to recontest.
No, there's going to be no recontest, like you said. Oblivion just deciding to give up that point and fight so that they gain control of slope. That's where this Reinhardt composition is really going to find its wheels falling off. If you have to use that TP every single time, make it from that low ground to the high ground, you're going to be waiting even longer. As W-Min just waits on the high ground, EMP's going to hit so many of them.
Yeah, this is going to be disgusting. Second Ant Matrix here. Also to counter that is the EMP, and goodbye to SR Peakcheck. The only one who doesn't die is Dollar.
This is, again, a problem with SR Peakcheck's composition. Who spy checks? Who has the ability to be able to clear the angle that W-Min is stealthing on? The answer, no one. No Diva to be able to infinitely spam. No Ramatra either to be able to use that primary. And as a result, W-Min gets to play so much more aggressive and contest that cart movement every single time as SR Peakcheck go aggressive, but Cookie's still making it that EXO have a threat.
Cookie, nice shot from him, but missing his team now. Can't really do much here. Nice cheeky TP play out of spawn. You called it earlier. Amazing work from SR Peakcheck.
It's one that can only really work once, especially when Cookie's going to have a Dragon Strike to be able to circumvent any teleport approach that SR Peakcheck take. I would love to see Danid actually throw that teleport and try and bait Dragon Strike early from Cookie in anticipation of SR Peakcheck actually taking the teleport. But they are going to be able to have the Symbol, the Shatter, the Sound Barrier, and the Blizzard to keep themselves aggressively on this card.
Hack on Vidal, make sure that he can't come out instantly or try to go for the cancel. Meanwhile, Dragon Strike early on, zones back Cloudy. They have the Symmetra to play around as well. Shatters Bastola, who does have his ultimate ready to go, but uses the nano on him. Is Crispy to keep him healthy. Also the Transcendence into the Blizzard. Counter every ultimate happening on SR Peakcheck's side. And a nice nade as well connects on LH Cloudy to shut him out. Bastola eventually will pummel and take them out, but also Fi with the Icicles able to find Cookie. That's a lot of damage done. They use the Ant Matrix on Mickey's side to keep things rolling. Bastola falls. They get the checkpoint too. Canale goes through just to die on that cart. SR Peakcheck close out and move on to third.
Heavy ultimate advantage investment from both sides, as Vestola is actually going to go onto the arrested. This is even heavier counter to the Reinhardt than that Ramatra. If you get charged, fortify. Fire Strike comes through, Javelin spin. Shatter attempt, Javelin throw. They're going to be able to block so much of this aggression that Cloudy has, as Maimon already going to be hitting. It's not W Maimon, it's Q Maimon at the moment. He's putting these EMPs so quickly.
He is, but you know, that's been the play that they've relied on for the entire series, or at least the entire map. We'll see if they could do more without that EMP ready to go. Cookie almost gets Cloudy, and actually they do. They also EMP in this fight, although they've lost Kaneo. Crispy able to find Mickey at the end of it as well. Dropping towards that payload now to finally wipe SRP check, and they're going back to the spawn door.
Gorgeous interception as well coming through from Vestola. Steps in front of the charge with Fortify, so that the Ryan is going to bounce off of the Orisa and not pick any squishy up, as Cookie's going to have the Dragon Strike. SRP check going to have to build a little bit towards Fi's Blizzard to be able to try and zone EXO away, but if they're smart like their ultimate tracking, he's just going to sit on the hands of ultimate to be able to peel the aggression that SRP check look to pick up with this Blizzard.
Early TP from SRP check, trying to leave WMMO in the dust, but the Dragon Strike still available for Cookie. He's waiting for it. Sees them through the wall with the recon. SRP check now rotates in the inside room, maybe bait out. Oh my god, nice nade from Crispy. Understanding the TP is going to come through, but Fi is able to find Cookie, who just used that Dragon Strike. Maybe they didn't expect SRP check to go for that TP play from Danid. Now on the other side, down one, Explode only have to cut back. Cookie swaps to that Widowmaker. Meanwhile, Vestola gets the Nano Boost to try to zone. Blizzard from Fi towards that cart. Who's going to be here to touch? 1 meter. Oh my god, WMMO is here just in the nick of time, but Dull has found Cookie. Transcendence to keep WMMO alive just for a little bit longer here. Now towards that payload. Vestola also will eventually come back. So does Kaneo. Kaneo's able to find one, but with the Ant Matrix, nobody else here is able to touch. And SRP check capture it, giving them a 3-minute and 28 time bank. We're going a bit longer on this map, Circuit Royale.
Ah, gorgeous read, like you said. The fact that they know that Dragon Strike is going to be used to try and clear the low ground, because when you have an Orisa and you're defending on the high ground, right, you don't immediately throw yourself off of that high ground. There's no way of being able to get back up. You're not running that symmetric TP. So it's obviously going to be the Dragon Strike that comes through, first of all, to try and split the team so that when you do actually drop down, you can immediately find that kill from the isolated player, and then the Orisa can power on from player to player to player. But SRP are doing such a good job of anticipating it, teleport past the Dragon Strike, and can then move onto the members of Explode, who were so separated because half of them went to try and capitalize on the Dragon Strike, and half of them were left behind and away from the Orisa to be able to absorb that damage. And we talked about this Reinhardt composition looking a lot stronger on the attack. It is crucial that they're able to stop Exoblivione from being able to push anywhere past A when this attacking team only has 1 minute on that clock.
Yeah, you were right. I was definitely wrong in this situation with the Reinhardt. You know, I guess if things aren't working out, like you said, go on to the attacking side and just keep the aggression. Make sure Exoblivione can never set up. I mean, it was so tough for Kaneo in this backline to stay alive, and now they're doing another spawn camp, it looks like.
Okay, here we go again. SRP check holding close to spawn. Maimon, once again, gonna pressure onto that payload, but it's actually Fi who comes in. The full rotation from SRP check to intercept the Sombra, and Exoblivione do not find that easy answer to the Reinhardt like they did last time.
SRP check looking for that first fight. Really trying to make sure they get the best angle to fight at here. Doing it at the first bend of the corner so they can get some of that health. Cloudy, his shield gets poked very low from Cookie over the top side. And Vestola and WMMO with the beam also find him. Vidala also falls, so does Danid. First fight win for Exoblivione.
Yeah, WMMO deciding to actually flex towards the Echo, something that we don't typically get to see here because normally attacking teams are placed against snipers, and Echoes have their wings very quickly clipped with how open these sides are. But when you're running up against a Reinhardt, the Echo is perfect. You can apply the pressure, you can use your shift to be able to navigate past that Reinhardt shield above, and you can use the beam to be able to focus it down incredibly quickly, as that payload is picking up a lot more distance.
TB comes through just to close up the Kaneo again. They do so, but they do trade one. Back and forth. Even so far. 3 versus 3. 5 falls to Vestola, though. And Dala does as well. Or Vi does as well. So does Cloudy. And in overtime, Exoblivione win.
They're going to get point A. They're going to have snowball potential. The B, LH Cloudy has not been able to do anything other than just hold up the shield from the amount of damage that is just being poured out from Exo's side, as SRP check decide to just use that symmetric TP, get a little bit more distance so they can pressure from the high ground onto the low and have Cloudy's Fire Strike try to build towards Shadow, but Exoblivione are able to sidestep.
I mean, it's that Blizzard that Fi needs to build as well to zone off that payload. Exoblivione play around it. Blizzard from Fi is there. Vestola is frozen but gets the nano, and they're just trying to pump everything into making sure Vestola gets removed, but he's totally fine. Meanwhile, the charge from Cloudy connects onto Vestola. get him off of that map to make sure the annihilation isn't there. Canel's Transcendence will eventually wear off. He wants to do aggressive, knowing this is about last fight. Crispy also falls. The Blizzard here now for WMA1 in the copy, but nobody else here to touch. WMA1 will fall. SRP checks stop Exoblivione in the second phase.
Yeah, gorgeous charge from LH Cloudy, and then really beautiful Symmetra TP from Daned as well to make sure that the Reinhardt does not get punished from being away from the team too long. And no one from EXO can push on the team when they're missing that shield. However, for 1 minute that EXO had available, the fact that they were able to take point A without even needing to build towards something like a Sombra EMP to be able to break through this Reinhardt defense, it's worrying. 3 minutes and 28 seconds. If we see the Symmetra teleport play being anticipated again and again and again, Dustin, that time is really quickly going to dwindle.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, Exoblivione's got to find a counter here, right? Because it just seems like you said, the teleporter plays, SRP check in general with the speed boost. I mean, they've turned up the aggression. And, I mean, what do you think Exoblivione has to do on the defensive to avoid dying to those TP plays?
I think a lot of it is just going to be down to cooldown management, right? Vestola with that Vortex, the second you see a teleport drop, can immediately just push that Ramattra utility, so that if SRP check do take it, they're at least going to be slowed and vulnerable for Cookie or W Maimon to be able to chunk down one of them. I like the fact as well that W Maimon is taking on the Echo, knows that SRP check aren't really going to be running an Avenue of Hitscan. The only one who can try and duel this Echo down traditionally is going to be Mickey on the Baptiste.
See what works out for Exoblivione on their defensive side. Running the Echo, by the way, you know, you maybe people are like, why do they not play Pharah? They're not really one of those teams. Exoblivione doesn't play a lot of Pharah.
You don't want the Mercy pocket to take your resources away from your heals.
Oh yeah, true. W moving over the top. It's kind of poking him down. SRP check still getting that card space. Exoblivione have to play safer. Now that TP's already used. They knew the TP cooldown is gone. SRP check knowing that they'll want to play it safe, get as close as they can get before they do something with Danit. Drop down below now towards that cart. Ready to go TP above that top right angle. Vestola gets walled off. Do break that wall in time, and Cookie finds Phi before the Immortality Fill could connect and save them. Exoblivione now have the advantage, so SRP check gonna keep trying to back up on the inside, but during this fight, Exoblivione are building up those ults. All the nades connect onto Danid, but he avoids the follow-up damage from the beam perfectly around the top left.
Yeah, but look at what's really problematic for SRP check. We're almost down a minute, and they don't have a single ultimate to play with. Mickey's gonna have the amplification matrix, sure, but Exoblivione are literally just gonna be able to disengage around the corner, or just use W Maimon to be able to push the damage of Duplicate to pressure out this team.
It's a fake TP play, but there's that duplicate that comes through. Vestola goes incredibly low, needs a lot of healing. W Maimon as well, but with the copy, who's just trying to zone out. Meanwhile, Ant Matrix from Mickey's in a perfect spot to shut out W Maimon and also get maximum value from here. I don't know how Exoblivione able to do this. They have the nano. The checkpoint is received. They do have spawns. They're waiting for a potential recontest as the checkpoint Justice here slows down the car for now. Cookie gets dove on, has to get the nano. Cloudy gets poked down. Who else is going to be able to touch? They Dragon Strike to zone out the payload. Cookie goes in, hits the body shot onto the nade. Also have the Transcendence here to zone out for now. The Shatter comes through onto Cookie though. Charge just being body blocked, but Phi is able to find him. Beat drop with the Blizzard to zone. Who is here to touch? It's just Canale. Will fall down. He'd have Vestola, but it's against so many ultimates, so many members of SRP check now. Exoblivione one by one fall. Just the Tracer now. XRP check will win map number 3.
Really smart spacing coming through from SRP check in terms of where they actually commit that amplification matrix. They know that it's really the only avenue that they have to be able to break properly through. They don't have that one hit potential to come out. They don't allow really Cloudy either to get as aggressive as he probably wanted to, like we saw in the last rounds, because of that Echo coming into play. It's the Symmetra TP that allows them to move past corner so that Exoblivione don't have the opportunity to be able to safely disengage the amplification matrix. Instead, they lose W Maimon, and that is when LA Cloudy is unleashed. Without having to worry about holding up the shield vertically to drop all of that Echo damage, he can just go ham.
And maybe to also talk about it a bit. I mean, I was kind of questioning the Circuit Royale pick, but obviously, you know, for SRP check, you know, on these longer maps, right, on these payload maps, on the escort maps in particular, it's if you're gonna play that Rhine comp, right, it's just about getting as many fights as possible, just making sure you're constantly in there. And eventually, they did end up conceding that third objective so that XLV only got the full cap. So it was looking dicey for them. But obviously, like you said, Moxie, as soon as they were on the offense, it was just nonstop, and all of that pressure ended up. I mean, how often do we see? How much did they end up time with on the very last point?
3 minutes.
Well, it was 2 minutes 28 though, right? It was 2 minutes 28 because of the overtime spawn. But that's a lot of time on Circuit Royale. I don't think we really ever see that much time in the time bank, do we?
Yeah, like you said, honestly, like the entire idea behind picking Circuit Royale is essentially treat defense like ripping a band-aid off, take as many fights as you possibly can, burn the clock down as much as you possibly can. That's why we were seeing things like the spawn holds to come through. The Symmetra TP as well is really good at being able to go for those fast engagements. You're going to get out of spawn a lot faster without having to rely on the Lucio, so you're going to immediately be able to drop from spawn into teamfight after teamfight after teamfight. Even if you don't win it, you're still burning time off of your opponent. And then when you go on the attack, you get to use that Symmetra TP to really be able to play havoc in terms of the traditional pacing of Circuit Royale, where what should be places that you need ultimates to be able to break through, you literally just throw out the Symmetra TP, and immediately you're past that really dangerous area of the map, and you can just punish the defenders who are thinking that maybe they're safe on that off angle, because they would traditionally be safe. But surprise, blink and you'll miss it, there's suddenly a full Reinhardt composition in front of you, and it's very much not a safe position to be in at all. However, pendulum swing is probably the way that I would describe this matchup between these two teams. One team loses a map, gets to take us to somewhere where the Reinhardt's favored. Another team loses a map and gets to take us somewhere where Dive is stronger. And surprise, surprise, Oblivion is probably going to be pulling out the same trick again when we head to this next map.
Yeah, you know what I'm hoping? I'm just hoping, by the way, next map is going to be Esperança, like you said. But, you know, I don't want to see SRP check sub in Icenom or QRXU, not because they're bad players necessarily. It just feels like, you know, even on Nubani, I'm sure you agree with me, Moxie, it just feels like they could have even ran that Symmetra composition, really, even though it's not favorable for the Rhine. You would think that they could just take away that high ground with the TP and just play like that. Like, do you think that's a matter of because they have these new players, they want to try to get that diversity versus some of these other teams? Why do you think that they sub in, you know, knowing they could lose a little bit of momentum versus Oblivion?
Well, I mean, you can do incredibly well against some of these teams with this Reinhardt TP strategy, but at the end of the day, you are going to come face to face with the likes of Twisted Minds, where they're going to be running that far, they're going to be running the Echo, and your Reinhardt composition is going to be absolutely useless against it. You and I, we've literally casted SRP going up against Twisted Minds in the past.
Yeah, that was not pretty.
And it's a bloodbath. Cloudy is literally just there with one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to shield any of the damage that comes out. So it makes a lot of sense that this is a team that very much want to be able to run these dive compositions on the other side of the coin as well.
Well, I like what Oblivion are trying to do here as well, picking Esperança, but also they're going to do a substitute. We got Chase Torch, classic, coming through for Oblivion. Play a little bit more of those, you know, Winston, like main tank heroes. Yeah,
potentially Winston, potentially Junker Queen as well. We've seen Junker Queen really pick up a lot of momentum on push maps purely because of how aggressive you can be in terms of like that shout. So you can take a lot of really aggressive positions, forward positions, allowing the rest of your DPS to be able to take up those flank positions, because push maps, they're wide. They're incredibly wide, and this is where the Tracers need GPS trackers on them at all times. They are going to be popping up in your backline. They're going to be looking for those flanks. They're going to be looking for those pulse bomb attachments. If there's a Sombra added on top of that as well, your backline straight up is not going to be having a fun time. 180 swivels, 360 swivels is going to be the name of the game to keep everybody intact before these fights break out.
Now for, you know, Oblivion, the sub in Chase Torch 2, I mean, you could see kind of the chess match happening between these two players, but, you know, it does seem like at the end of the day, it just turns into a full checkers game. It's just, you know, Reinhardt versus this, you know, Ramatra at points, and, you know, Bastola is a great player, but obviously subbing in Chase Torch. Do you think that we could see a bit more of this happening for Oblivion as the season progresses? Maybe a bit more of those Winston comps, Moxie?
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes you want to prioritize that D.Va, sometimes you want to be able to prioritize having that Winston. Push maps especially, Winston can just be incredibly strong of being able to access the high ground, but also drop things like the bubble to be able to block line of sight for the other side and allow you to really put that pressure on the backline into stepping into the bubble, stepping closer to the Winston, closer to the cleave, to actually be able to connect those heals onto their tank and keep them sustained. And that is going to be something that if Cloudy sticks around, you're going to have to be worried about, right? If you are actually going to have your heals blocked by line of sight of a shield.
Yeah, I think that Cloudy is really good in general at dealing with some of these different heroes and swaps. And I think, there's a famous streamer, ML7, that's talked about it, where it's like, even in the worst of times, if you're just locking one hero, you're just playing Ana, for example, when Ana's bad in his case, you go through those hard times really trying to figure out how to play a quote-unquote suboptimal hero in, a certain meta. And we know Cloudy is that type of player, right? Just consistently playing the Reinhardt no matter what the meta is. And, a lot of that struggle, a lot of that strife eventually does lead to understanding how to play versus certain compositions and metas. So obviously, Chase Torch on that Winston's going to be, the quote-unquote meta. But versus the likes of Cloudy, maybe Cloudy's just ready for it, right? Like maybe Cloudy's prepared.
Yeah, but I mean, when you have the Winston, you also bring into the mix Primal Rage. I know you love to talk about how balanced Primal Rage is.
No, because it's not it's not balanced.
It's not. No, I agree entirely, and it is most problematic in my eyes on push. How many fights have we seen where a team is incredibly far behind, and an Ana in her dying breath sends a nano boost onto the Winston, builds up the Primal in the blink of an eye, and then the Winston just literally gets to ult, and the entire rest of the team, because they have those forward respawns, get to regroup, and off of the back of those two ultimates, swing the fight in their favor.
Ridiculous. So you're also blaming Ana too, basically? It's not only the Winston Primal Rage, it's also nano boost. Okay. All right, Mox, I see where you're coming from. Hating on us Ana players even more. Even though you're an Ana player yourself.
Myself, I was gonna say, I don't know why I'm saying that Nano Boost is too strong, because I use it all of the time. I love me.
Great, yeah.
My Nano Boost damage reduction.
First they come after our anti-grenade, or actually no, first they come after our damage, then they come after our anti-grenade, and then they come after our nano boost and our sleep. What more do they want? They just want to strip Ana of everything. And then they also want to remove Discord Orb too while they're at it. But Exoblivione obviously locking Cookie on that Sojourn as well with Chase Switch on the Winston.
Yeah, Mickey going to actually be playing on that Moira, so SR Peach are playing a very aggressive composition where they're just looking to run onto these members of EXO and force out some of these cooldowns. Problem is that the only one you're really going to be able to run onto is Canel, and the Ana's going to be able to just position with the Lucio.
Yeah, I like this so far for Exoblivione for sure, just in terms of the compositional, mix up. Also trying to avoid a lot of that tracer damage, Mickey, on that, Moira, just for that, obviously the mobility, like you said, just trying to dive onto them, but also play their lines, but it's against Cookie. He's built up that railgun shot, does not fighting the one shot, though. SR Big Jack just playing around the cart, right, sustaining with a lot of high HP heroes, able to avoid any of those nades as well. Cleanse off the AT with Danet baiting around Thigh, does get poked, but will get healed up immediately by making another anti-connects onto Cloudy. Going towards the nano, another shot from Thigh, almost finds Canale's head, but luckily avoids the one shot around the corner, does build up the nade coming through in a second. Dana gets poked down. WMU already built up that pulse bomb too. Has a recall ready to go, goes onto the inside, connects onto the Reaper. Did he use the fade? Yes, he did. Pulse bomb will find that kill onto Danet. Cloudy gets poked down too. A lot of damage coming through now onto the side of SRP. Check, they have double support ultimates, and they overlapped them. The beat drop and Coalescence. They can re-engage if they find a kill. This could act as some sort of damage follow-up as Mickey is able to get one kill, but Chase Torch gets the nano boost. Will chase down Dala, and with the sniper to get the kill also on Defy. Winston as a hero is so strong at the moment. Chase Torch really proving why. Able to get those two kills. Cookie also finds Cloudy. Mickey also falls. Very long first fight, about 2 minutes, and eventually Exoblivione will come out on top.
Don't know if the Primal was necessary, but every other decision in that fight was exemplary from Exoblivione. WMAMon being able to isolate Danet when that Ray form was on cooldown, so the Pulse Bomb finds the Reaper and Chase Torch gets to go as aggressive as that Winston wants to. He was playing so passive, just poking away, face tanking a little bit of damage for Knell to be able to build the nano, but the second the Reaper's removed, that's when he gets to properly commit in. As Cookie has the overclock on the high ground, and SR Peachek have to play around accordingly, because like you said, they overlap both support ultimates in that last fight. They do not have sustain.
Yeah, this is going to be rough now. Danet does keep the above. Overclock via the high ground. Vi does use it, but it's against the beat drop, and Cookie knows exactly how to play that W. Maybe also drops the pulse bomb onto Cloudy to poke him down low. Danet out of the fade. It is going to be a lost cause. Cookie with the overclock finds Danit as well. That's a 2K in that fight, and that's our peak check. Has to keep backing up. I mean, this is probably going to be rough on Esperanza.
Yeah, ex-Oblivione understanding that deficit in ultimates from SRP check support.
Oh, he shattered.
The second that they get pushed, oh, he did use shatter. I mean, they do match connected into a kill onto Cookie, which is late, so ex-Oblivione are not going to be able to put the Sojin up onto this high ground, allowing Danit an opening for Death Blossom, and ex-Oblivione, knowing that it's up, are having to play a lot more defensively.
Build up those ultimates. Like I said, Nano Boost already used. Charge comes through from Cloudy. Coalescence goes incredibly aggressive for Mickey, who gets poked down to 1 HP, but will play around the corner. Get healed up with his team as well. Finds Canale. Crispy fell earlier on. And SRP to have back control of that robot. I mean, they don't have, I guess, too many meters to close out on.
Overwatch is going to have Primal. W Maymon's going to have that Pulse Bomb as well. So a lot of sustaining contest on this objective as ex-Oblivione do want to try and deny these forward respawns. Have to keep an eye, however, on where this Reaper is. Danit on that high ground gets spotted out. It doesn't have to use Ray Bomb just yet.
Dive in from Chase Torch. Primal Rage also to follow up. Pulse Bomb from W Maymon does not connect this time. Beat Drop does get used for Dala's side. Chase Torch has to run away. BP comes through from Danit. Has the Death Blossom ready to go. No sleep darts available, so just backs up with the advantage, forcing ex-Oblivion to come back towards that robot.
So much zoning, though, off of just this threat of the Death Blossom. It's kind of like you said, does have that sleep dart available now, but uses it on the Cloudy.
He does use it on Cloudy, but does find Danit after coming out of that late form with the nade, so it's perfectly timed. Although a bit of luck was on his side, Cookie was there with the follow-up onto Mickey as well. Crispy gets Cloudy removed as well, so ex-Oblivion will control the robot again.
Yeah, we're gonna have a Nano Boost available for EXO. Crispy's gonna be able to hit into the Sign Barrier too. We might even see the Nano Boost go onto Cookie so the Sojin Overclock can rip through even the Coalescent sustainability on the side of Mickey, as Danit still just has not been able to find the room to be able to use the Death Blossom every single time he's tried to approach. That Ray Form has been burnt out so early.
Yeah, and for Mickey, now they got the Coalescence against that Nano Boost to Chase Torch, who finds Dala before the Coal could really even connect. Able to find one, though. Danny comes over the top of the Death Blossom, but gets removed by Chase Torch instantly, so it's so far 2 for 2. Cloudy's still healthy as well, but Chase Torch has the mobility of the high ground. Fi gets picked off by Crispy as well via that low ground, and now it's just that Moira and Ryan. They stay alive on the inside, trying to stop that robot from pushing on through. I mean, they've got to sustain potentially, but an already orb used from Mickey there to go aggressive, force all ex-Oblivione. The Shatter comes through from Cloudy, connects on the Chase Torch, who got the Primal Rage before. The Shatter did connect, so he's able to sustain. Crispy does get poked, but it's SR Peak Check who still have control of the robot.
Cookie still got that overclock. SR Peak Check gonna have to be very careful that they don't walk straight into a Sojin set up on high ground with the ultimate. Despite looking for an in to be able to use this Pulse Bomb and find that pick, potentially onto the Sojin, who's brought incredibly low.
Oh no, Chase Torch got charged by Cloudy. Danit as well as the follow-up. Canale gets poked down low. Oh, Cookie with the overclock. Canale gets the body shots onto 5, but Cookie goes down. Was trying to go aggressive, and SR Peak Check right now, the momentum's all on the side.
Yeah, Danit too is able to collapse onto Canale, who was trying to disengage. He didn't have that sleep dart available, and so even though they saw the Reaper TP, had to just try and drop off the high ground and make it to the health pack. As SR Peak Check picking up momentum, Danit as well does get spotted out by Chase Torch, who tries to snipe him with the secondary on the Tesla coil. But ex-Oblivione without ultimates are just going to have to wait until Cookie has that railgun ult fire.
Now 80 meters for SR Peak Check. They're looking way better on Esperanza now than they were earlier. Coalescence utilized and Chase Torch removed again. I mean, this is pretty unfortunate for Chase Torch. He's the target of SR Peak Check right now.
Yeah, and W Maymon isn't really getting the ability to be able to join the Winston alongside these guys because of just the sheer pressure that SR Peak Check's composition has, right? Mickey using that Coalescence, allowing the team to hold really aggressively in the Winston's face so that by the time Jump is on cooldown for Chase Torch, he's already gone.
And a Death Blossom as W Maymon tried to find him after the Wraith form. Cookie's able to find Mickey. Chase Torch also has the Nano Boost, so surely Dollar will fall. It's hard to escape the grasp of Winston at the moment. Fi is able to get Cookie, but with just him left, Danit and Fi both fall. ex-Oblivione control the robot again.
Primal sustainability, kill potential with Overclock and Pulse Bomb. SR Peak Check are relying on LH Cloudy landing such a big shatter to be able to try and find this pick. But again, Oblivione, because they won that fight, can now position it around the Reinhardt. And this time, SRP Check don't have a sim TP to get Cloudy into position.
Cloudy will get to that robot though. Midway through the map, controlling the robot again. Not a lot of positional advantage going in favor of Oblivion at all. They need a decisive fight win right here and right now. WMano's got the pulse bomb, but he's dealing with Fi. On the backside, Fi's able to regroup with their team as well. Cloudy gets anti. Slowed for now. There's the pulse bomb. Gets Cloudy so low. But do they get the kill? Even with Chase Torch's Primal Rage, that's 2 pulse bomb and Primal use just to kill Cloudy. SRP Check knowing that. Surely just die on that payload. An overclock committed too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, smart decision making from XO in using that primal, so Cloudy, who is getting focused, doesn't have the opportunity to be able to use that shatter, and Cookie is able to power slide in and pick up that kill. But that overclock being invested, oh, that's an ultimate XO are probably gonna want back in this next fight. They at least do secure the high ground positioning, but Disruptor Shot 2 gonna make it harder for SRP Checks to be able to navigate this shatter in safely.
Yeah, they don't have the checkpoint yet either. Bot stop just before it. Beat drop available. That's the only ultimate versus SRP Check who know they have the advantage. Beat drop versus beat drop. Ultimates used for Oblivione. No, does find Dandit. Aggressive pulse bomb over the top. A little bit of a yeet pulse bomb rather from Fi. Robot does get back under the control though. And it's actually being stolen at the moment. It looks like by Dala, but Oblivione do win that fight. Fi's able to get Kanale. Robot finally into their control, it looks like, after it was taken away. 37 seconds left.
Yeah, so here's the problem for SRP Check. Dollar actually uses the Sign Barrier, but EXO, because they have that high ground, no one from SRP Check can actually punish. LH Cloudy isn't in a position to be able to use the Shadow. Mickey, as a result, doesn't want to invest the Coalescence, and they hold on to the ultimates for the next fight. But now they have to engage with a Reinhardt without the Sound Barrier to be able to sustain damage of a Nano Boost against Dive.
Not a lot of time left, though. 10 seconds, 50 meters to cross to get that victory for Oblivione. They got 2 on the cart, still sitting on the high ground. SRP Check knowing that. Just going to try to take a fight to force Kanale off the high ground, I imagine. Kanale still got the Nano Boost, though. Available, ready to go. They're going to get some space with it. Try to walk forward. Now the Coalescence by Mickey is popped. There's the Nano on to Chase Torch. Charge comes through to stop Chase Torch, getting Mickey on the left side. Overtime almost goes all the way through. WMMO touching that payload. Will die for it. That's 1 kill. Shatter comes through as well onto the backline of Cookie. Nice sleep dart to slow him down. Dandit falls to Cookie with the Primal Rage. Chase Torch is able to get some value too. Comes back towards that payload to get some heals from Kanale. Kanale's going to have to go hard with a lot of the healing and anti-grenades, but it gets blocked by LH Cloudy. Chase Torch on the inside, able to find Dala. That's a nice opening kill from them. No Lucio in this fight, and they're still pushing this robot forward.
Yeah, but Kanale's off the high ground angle now. That was what was keeping this Ana safe and untouchable in the last fight. SRP Check can now try and actually push aggression onto the backline.
He's going to have to get a big nade. Cookie's going to have a huge overclock. Disruptor shot into the backline. Fi gets the setup on the left side. Immediate dash around. Chase Torch gets caught by the charge. But the beat drop is here. And now it's the overclock. He comes back for Cloudy, who's well aware he's the target. Cookie finds Dala, though. That's 1. Pulse bomb still available for WMMO. Doesn't need to find Mickey. Kanale also finds Cloudy. And in overtime, Oblivione have crossed a 50-meter deficit to come back and win Esperanza to bring us to that map number 5 in our very first Summer Series game.
So much of it is just really smart positioning. You can see in terms of the pathing of the dive in that second to last fight, where Kanale is literally just playing 24/7 up on the bridge, up on that catwalk. Every single time a player from EXO falls low, they're able to disengage themselves from the dive and make it back around the corner, back into line of sight for Kanale to be able to build up the Nano Boost. And when you have that Nano Boost onto the Winston, you don't have to consistently jump back towards the Ana. The damage reduction allows the Ana to still hold on to that really defensive position and be untouchable, but still allows you to aggressively roam into the front line of the other side and push SRP Check back. And more importantly, also meant to using ultimates to try and peel the aggression away.
Great comeback from Oblivione. Team effort, Kanale obviously, like you said, on that high ground really takes maximum advantage of that positioning. Cookie as well with the overclocks. And as we go to, whoa, massive speed boost. Cookie as well with his overall play with the railgun shots and stuff. And then also Maimon, showing some flexibility over to Tracer. So far, so good for the side of Oblivione. I mean, what a map win for them, obviously, versus SR Peak Check. Now we're going to that map number 5 in our very first game back, Moxie. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to see what they choose, but we have to go to a short break. When we come back, we'll see you guys for that map number 5, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You like solving problems. Problems like how to stop that tracer from deleting your backline. I know just what you're thinking. Go bring a turret. But y'all can't solve all your problems by simply bringing an extra friend to the battlefield. For that, you need the Contenders Torbjorn skin. Solve your problems by connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. After that, watching Overwatch Contenders Summer Series will contribute to your drops progress, letting you claim your Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin. Even your turret gets an upgrade. Warning, the Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin does not come with extra or upgraded turrets. Build instructions will not be provided. By picking Torbjorn, you waive a claim towards any destroyed turrets. No refunds, no exchanges, and no take-backsies.
Welcome back, everybody. We have an exhilarating matchup between SR Peak Check and Oblivione. Oblivione just won on Esperanza to bring us to that map number 5, which that was very close. So obviously this is our first, it is a first to 3. So whoever wins this next map will get their first win and will get the first win so far in Contenders EMEA Summer Series, at least on broadcast. Moxie, Lejang Tower, that will be our next map. I mean, who do you think this favors leading into it?
I mean, Gardens has to favor EXO, right? But both Night Market and Control Center are 2 maps that are very well known for being incredibly strong for Symmetra and Reinhardt TP plays. So
Yeah.
honestly, 2 out of 3 for SR Peak Check. Not surprising. This is the control map that they decide to take us to. This is where we're more than likely going to see that Symmetra TP. This is where we're probably going to be seeing Clyde. Probably. No. 110% certainty that we're going to be seeing the Reinhardt come through yet again.
Yeah, I think obviously, you know, it's not that necessarily earlier on the substitute was bad or anything like that. It just seems like they seem to be playing better with Cloudy at the moment. So you might as well stick through it. Meanwhile, for Oblivione's side, looks like they're also going to stick through with Chase Torch being subbed in for Vistola. And, you know, this is so back and forth at the moment that the Jank Tower, I imagine this is going to be a very decisive and interesting match. And especially which sub-map it is first, right?
This is going to be really interesting in that tank matchup. We know that Cloudy, with no shadow of a doubt, is going to be playing the Reinhardt. But Chase Torch still staying in rather than Vistola means that if we go to Control Center, we might not actually see the Ramatra try to counter this Reinhardt. I was maybe expecting the Soul to actually get sub through, because if you do go to somewhere like Gardens or even Night Market, you can play the Diva Dive, but you can also still play that Ramatra Brawl and take advantage of the poke phase, so that even if LH Cloudy has that Symmetra TP, you can still use things like these walls to come through from something like May, the Vortex with the slow as well, to be able to push onto this team. But it feels like they want to try and move away from that Ramatra composition.
I mean, I'm for some reason I'm just stuck on like the train of thought, Moxie, of like thinking about like a tier list of meta in EMEA contenders, because you know, for SR Peak Check at the moment, right? You called it before. Twisted Minds with their Pharah composition were just absolutely destroying SR Peak Check. It was really tough to watch on that side. And now for SR Peak Check, if you're having a tough matchup versus Exoblivione, who are rocking that Sojourn, Tracer in Winston, that's got to feel a little rough in terms of that Rhine off meta composition, you think, right?
Yeah, it's probably going to feel even rougher given that you've run into the Echo as well.
Yeah,
to come through with the flex from W Mabo and identifying that is one of the Rhine's greater weaknesses.
I will say, I don't know if I agree with you on that point, simply because, it just feels like the Echo, it doesn't really get the same value as Pharah does, I guess, versus Rhine. Because I guess that's why we're seeing W Mabo play the Tracer, right? It seems like they're rocking with that Tracer instead, because earlier on, W Mabo was playing the Echo, and it was like somewhat working, but it seemed like SRP kind of knew how to deal with it. I mean, like, what do you think? Is it the swap between that Tracer and that Echo that really is enabling them, or do you think that they could still play the Echo leading into this map versus Cloudy?
Well, to answer the question of why, Echo is probably worse than Pharah at dealing with Reinhardt, it's splash damage, right? Pharah's rockets have a much wider AoE damage. Echo with the stickies does get that radius damage, but it's a cooldown rather than continuous outburst. So as a result, the Reinhardt can shield a majority of that damage. It's only the stickies that you really have to worry about, and the beam that comes alongside it as well. When you're up against a Pharah, you are continuously, even if the shield is raised perfectly above your head, still going to be taking damage, because the Pharah can just shoot the ground where your feet stand.
So so what you're saying is that it's that neutral game of Pharah that is really good, but for Echo, it's that burst window. Yeah. I see what you're saying. And, first map, obviously, Moxie, looks like it's going to be potentially even Control for, the side of SR Peak Check. That's the first map you want, right?
Yeah, Control Center is absolutely the first map type that you want to have pop up if you do head over to Lijiang. And it is going to be stars aligned for SR Peak Check. If they drop this map, this is when we're going to start asking questions about the synergy and this composition, right? Firewalls, absolutely deadly on Antarctic Peninsula. Now you head into Control Center, where not only do you have that same cramped level of space, the skybox that things like a Baptiste have to actually be able to jump over those walls with the Exo Boots narrows down significantly as well. Exoblivione more than likely are going to be trying to take this fight as often as they can to the center of the point, but the problem then becomes, if you take the fight to longer angles, you diminish the amount of uptime that Chase Watch has for the pummel.
TP already from Danid, he's sticking on that Symmetra. Meanwhile, Exoblivione, Aqua Chase on the Ramatra, like you said, and then Cookie also on the Reaper. W Mabo on the May. SRP taking an aggressive positioning towards the White Room to set up those Symmetra turrets. Already also with the Hammer, too. Just consistently trying to pump in damage, make sure that backline can't walk in the charge. On to the Lucio as well. Crispy. Claudia will take that kill. Also with the Immortality Field, Mickey tries to avoid some of that damage, gets frozen so slowly, so he can't live. But the rest of his team capitalizes on Exoblivione, and they take the first unlock.
You have to remember as well that in all of these fights, the second that it goes on for something like 5 seconds, Danid is going to be fully charged on this Symmetra and booming down these targets. There's a reason that Canel's onto the Moira to have that little bit more pressure with the damage orb, trying to just chunk down these members of SRP Check and bait out that lamp early, as there it is, Exoblivione away from Generator Room, take the fight point.
They take the fight to the point, wall off onto Cloudy. Cookie gets poked and had to fade early, and also Fi's found Canale. 2 kills, now 3 kills for Fi. Perfect icicles from them.
Oh, and SR Peak Check is still chasing and looking for these daggers. Symmetra turrets now going to be set up on Choke Spawn Door. LH Cloudy waiting alongside with a Shatter as well. And Fi is going to be in position to be able to, again, use this Maywall and separate one of these players as they come through.
Walk through. Fi gets that Maywell early. Nice check by Chase Torch, but it's into a shatter after they broke the middle of the wall. W Maywell already gets removed from that shatter play. And now SRP Tech 50% of the board. Still want to hold aggressively here. Have no TP at the moment. Canale's got the coalescence. W Maywell makes the swap over to the Sombra. Wall still available. Use the wall at that choke point just to harass them and fall back to the white room.
Yeah, SRP Check now falling back towards the point as W Maywell on that Sombra is trying to just threaten that flip to come through. And look for any hack that they can onto Mickey to try and find the kill on Snapcase when they're low. But unfortunately, that denies damage avenue from EXO, and the burst is just there for SRP Check to be able to brute force through.
80% on the board. I mean, Explosione, what do they do now here? They only have one fight to go.
They've got Annihilation, but they don't really have the EMP to be able to charge it. Silent Barrier will at least allow themselves to aggressively put themselves onto point and use this Rematter ultimate, but Mickey with that Amp Matrix, no EMP to cancel it, can just sustain the team through.
He walks in, does have that beat against that Symmetra wall. They do get Dala on the backside via the hack. Mickey also comes through over the top. Snail's able to find Dala because of that split from Mickey, but Danid's able to get Chase Torch, and the rest of Exoblivione are trying to kind of work the way around this point. Cookie commits the Death Blossom last second, but a bit of an 8km Death Blossom. 100-0. They do eventually touch the point. EMP is here from W Maywell, but no follow-up. Chase Torch to come through and touch, but gets booped away. First round for SRP Check. Look amazing.
Yeah, and there it is. The Annihilation is there, but the Amp Matrix is just, it's so good, it's so clean, and it keeps everybody topped up. You need it if you pop the Annihilation, the EMP alongside it, to cancel that Baptiste, just sustaining LH Cloudy to allow him to hold his position and brute force through Chase Torch's ultimate. But unfortunately, Maymon is just a little bit too late on the Sombra swap and doesn't have it up.
Well, now on the next round, you think that Exoblivione will be happy not going to any sub-map that's not Control Center, right?
They're going to be really happy because it's not Night Market, it's Garden. And this is where we're going to see this Reinhardt composition tested to the absolute limit, because it's not an Echo that you're going up against, it's fully fledged Pharmacy.
Yeah, I would like to see maybe W Maywell playing more of the Fair. I mean, they are a very good Genji player, Tracer player, have a lot of that flexibility against SRP Check, who has gone into the dojo side, waiting for another TP to come up. W Maywell looking for the spam onto Danit. A lot of healing from Mickey coming into them. Maybe didn't expect that Fair also to come through. TP towards that point, 2 seconds to unlock. W Maywell concussion blast towards that point as well. Still looking at the backline. Mickey's doing a great job trying to pocket the Symmetra while Danit split off from the team. A lot of peel coming through. Canale's taking some poke. Point also winning SRP Check's favor. Early wall from Fi on the window. Chase Torch gets poked towards the objective. No depth just yet. Booping away. Chase Torch also gets that lamp out early on. Now no immortality available. Cloudy goes for the charge towards the outside, but gets slept and removed. Cloudy, knowing that they didn't have cooldowns, wanted to go for a play. Cookie on the Tracer, able to find him. Dullah also falls. Mickey does get one. Has the Ant Matrix to play around. Could go kind of crazy here, but W Maymon finds Danit. Mickey connects onto Canale. Finds also found Cookie after Mickey got traded out. With the turrets, it could be a nuisance to W Maymon. With a Symmetra TP as well, they get back to the point, but against the barrage, W Maymon will find Cloudy and Dala. And finally, even though SRP Check sustained to the point, 42%, Exoblivione get the flip.
Yeah, W Maymon forced to throw in the barrage to be able to break both the Reinhardt shield and health bar in one swoop, so that SRP Check aren't able to use the Symmetra TP through window and keep that stall going even longer. As W Maymon now is again just going to start spamming the damage through these players. SRP Check taking that back rotation all the way through into White Room to go long distance, but that just allows W Maymon to build up the barrage faster.
He also has Cole's bomb, and they don't need it. Chase Torch able to get Mickey with the damage boost from the Nano. Danit does get Cookie as well via the low crowd, but W Maymon on the Vera. What a god he's been.
Something that we haven't really discussed either so far is Chase Torch's pick on the Doomfist. I am actually a huge fan of this, because what do you do when you see the full team of SRP Check go for that teleport play? You send Chase Torch in with the punch, connects onto all of them, stuns them up, and allows Cookie and W Maymon to just clean house.
Now SRP Check try to walk through. Point advantage for Exoblivione. They TP in, have the Symmetra wall and beat drop. Pulls from Cookie, forces out the immortality field, so that's not here in the fight. SRP check need to find some kills, but against the barrage from Mabone, Danid falls. That's terrible for SRP check. Cloudy, though, able to trade back one, though Mickey gets some pressure from WMAMO. Regenerative Burst keeps him alive as well as Dala here, but now that those cooldowns are removed, comes back through the left side. Crispy gets the res on the Chase Torch. Five tries to come back, but Chase Torch is there for the peel, and now they're crossing the 80% mark. Ex-Oblivione.
Yeah, and Fly trying to chase down Canal to take away sustainability for Exo side deprives the team of sustainability on that point, as LH Cloudy now going to have the shatter, but again, Ex-Oblivione just have the means of being able to position around it. WMAMO being such a pain on every single rotation. Just drops in, tries to bait out, almost gets the Immortality field, but forces the shift from the Baptiste early too.
Yeah, that's huge. A lot of pro players will tell you Regenerative Burst on Baptiste is one of his strongest abilities. They're in touch! Are you kidding me now?
They were so occupied. They were so occupied dealing with WMAMO and just applying that little bit of pressure and twisting the knife closer and closer that no one was in position to be able to touch.
Now we're going to that round number 3, which is going to be Night Markets. And, you know, Moxie, every time I'm counting SRP check out, they always come back. How do you stop WMAMO at the moment?
You just have to be able to play around this point. Like, you use the Symmetra TP, you go for ye old teleport strategy where you go for the window, for the drop. Turrets go on the doorways. Fire sticks on the main to be able to wall off one of those approaches and force Exo into it, but Exo know this. This is such a predictable strategy. They're going to stick with the pharmacy. Cookie's going to be rolling out on the Sojourn. Chase Torch as well. Not on the Doomfist this time, but on the Hammond. So we can continue to sow disruption and allow these openings for WMAMO to find pits.
Early charge from Cloudy. But Cookie, with the Disruptor shot, has already found Danid. After the Immortality field from Mickey was used as well, that's got to be rough, as well as Dala going super low. Eventually the slam comes through from Chase Torch, perfectly timed. Wrecking Ball swap working out for them before the point even unlocked.
Yeah, this is huge, because Wrecking Ball does so much in this composition. You're so fast, even though you know that Danid's turrets are already going to be set up, you're still able to roll through the door frame without taking too much damage, and SRP is going so close together to help this Reinhardt out that every single time you use the shielding, you're always going to get the full benefit of it. As Chase Torch still sticking on that Hammond is going to deny SRP the ability to go coast, forces them into using that teleporter early.
Yeah, they TP into the point. Try to shield off the backline, but they're all super low. They do get the flip, though. Nade came through from Canale. Everybody's still healthy for SRP check now, but Danid gets slept on the outside. WMAMO comes through onto Fi. Cookie also connects onto Danid. For every one kill they get, it seems like team wipes are happening. Barrage from WMAMO was, I mean, maybe honestly ill-advised. Mickey, knowing they're in a desperate spot, commits the Ant Matrix. What the hell is that? Cloudy's on the point alone now, and eventually will fall too. Ex-Oblivione get the flip.
It's stalled. Say what you will, it is stalled. They were able to find the flip and 23% is picked up. Chase Torch, however, is going to have the Hammer Mines, which is a lot of stall potential. Exo, as well as the Overclock to come through to deal with Fire's Blizzard. WMAMO's an absolute monster. 10,000 damage done and hardly dropped. That's such a good number for a Fire player.
Overclock ready to go. Need to jump through the air. Regenerative Burst keeps him healthy, but oh my god, as soon as Fi dropped the Blizzard, he's shut out behind Chase Torch and Cookie with the Overclock. Cloudy gets Chase Torch, but I don't think it's enough. I mean, they got the Shatter up. They don't have that point flip either. He's surely going to fall in just a second. I mean, Turrets here gets rid of Crispy in the sky. Danid finds Cookie somehow. With the beat drop they sustain, Cloudy will find WMAMO and SRP check get the flip.
Yeah, and XO actually tried to nano boost save that fight. WMAMO received the Ana ultimate, and as a result is not going to have it to immediately be able to find these one-shot kills onto the likes of SRP check and force that lamp out early from Mickey, which has been this far as planned. Every single time we've seen the approach, WMAMO has been targeting this backline, baiting out that Immortality field, and only then have XO made the actual move.
This is an absolute clown fiesta. Crispy died with Valkyrie against 3 Symmetra turrets. WMAMO now, via the coastal side, trying to spam out Cloudy. Early Symmetra wall used by Danid. Into the corner, SRP check go. Now they have to go out to the main with the Immortality field, look for something. Haven't found much just yet, but now they shatter Chase Torch. Although he's lost his team, they get rid of Chase Torch, Cookie, and WMAMO find Danid and Dollar. That was a lot of the damage of SRP check. Mickey also falls with the Ant Matrix, 70% of the board. SRP check just now come back. The stall. Barrage committed as well from WMIM, but he's just using it off cooldown, it feels like at this point. Doesn't even notice there's a Tracer behind him. Cloudy will fall. 80%. Dala gets booped off the map. Dana gets the TP back onto the point. And eventually, Oblivione look to close out here.
Yeah, it's a good barrage. It actually forces LH Cloudy into charging off of the point and allows Oblivione to be able to find that flip, and Cloudy in that vulnerable form of the charge goes down very shortly afterwards as well. Mickey does have Amplification Matrix. SR Peak Check again going to be looking to use the Symmetra teleport, but WMAMO anticipates the Rifle going to block. No concussive to be able to separate the team as they don't go for window. They try and collapse onto Canals.
Oh my god, they tried to, and unfortunately it's not successful. Cookie's able to get Danik. Cookie also finds Dala with the overclock on the point. And also on Defy. I mean, this guy is so good on the Sojourn, and still, after these years, Chase Torch also finds Cloudy 95% of the board. Dana swaps the Junkrat, of all things, to try to touch the point. It's all over for SRP Check in game number 1. Oblivione will win 3-2.
That Farah really is the bane of SRP Check's existence. Every single time you feel like this Reinhardt symmetric composition is really finding its footing and being able to challenge these teams and win fights it shouldn't, a Farah composition comes out and forwards it. I feel for Cloudy. It must be so tilting every single match. And the problem is that Farah is really unchecked at the moment. If you don't have the avenue of being able to swap to something like a Diva and you're relying on one of your DPS to be hard stuck on that Symmetra for the teleport play, you're never really going to be able to actively, properly counter the Farah. You always have to go for the rest of the team. That's why we see the teleport strategy, not onto the point contest, but just trying to take down Canale and force the Mercy away from pocketing the Farah out of position for that resurrection. But it just doesn't come through, and WMAMO remains unchecked.
Actually, we gotta ask Prod if we can get like the PG-13 rating so we could drop an F-bomb, because my god, that was a clown fiesta of a match. Oblivione obviously get that 3-2 win. We'll have to come back after a short break and see what's on the side, so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hello. Welcome back, everybody. First game, obviously, for the EMEA Contender Summer Series was incredibly riveting and close, so we've decided to bring an interview guest in. Vistola from Team Oblivione is here with us. Congratulations on your win. How you feeling after that one?
Thank you. Feeling kind of bad because I lost 2 maps myself, but we got the win in the end, so that's all that matters. Yeah, that's what matters.
So to talk about that, we've obviously seen SRP Czech having LH Cloudy wanting to play that Reinhardt alongside Symmetra as much as possible, and even it's having an influence in terms of the EMEA region for the Overwatch World Cup conference as well. As a tank player, how annoying is it to play into this composition? Is there really any weakness other than maybe just going for that Pharah pick?
Well, I think it's like winnable even in Rush Mirror, but you have to play so well because they just so good at the comp that you basically have to play perfect to beat them on Rush. And first map we kind of saw that it's gonna be really hard, so we just tried to play other stuff into it.
So do you think like a little bit more practice, with the team at the moment for you guys? Because obviously you also have Chase Torch on the sideline too. Do you think maybe a bit synergy with your team with the Ramatra comp will enable you guys to maybe beat a team like SRP Czech? I guess also, you guys don't really have to play against another Ryan team necessarily for the rest of this stage, but are you thinking maybe it's just a time together kind of thing for you guys with the Ramatra Rush?
Yeah, for sure. Like Rush right now probably our worst comp. We are really good at like other stuff, but we need to fix our Rush. Some maps it's just too OP and you can't force Pharah. Like some game of the hill maps, so.
And then moving away from talking about Rush, looking more at tanks in terms of dive, we're seeing a lot of teams try and circulate towards the Winston over the Diva. What do you feel Winston brings to the table, which is the reason why we see him so much predominantly in places like Push?
Well, against their comp, they play like Maysim. It's really hard to get the value of Diva because everything just goes through your matrix and you get frozen all the time. So it's just easier to play Winston with Bubble. It's also easier to kill backline with that hero, so. That's what you kind of want to do against the Ryan comp, just pressure them a lot, and Monkey does that a lot better.
And for you in particular, Vistola, obviously, since Moxie just touched on it, have you been like playing some of those other, tanks? I feel like in Europe, you're definitely known as like one of the best divas, and honestly, probably you don't even need to really practice it anymore. I bet because like you're just like so practiced on it at this point. Have you been trying to increase the hero pool a bit too? Obviously, like you added the Ramatra, your great Ram. But have you been also trying to play some of those like Winston's, Ryan's at points as well?
Yeah, well Ryan I can't really play at all, but Monkey I can play a little bit, but it's kind of useless when I have like really good Monkey players on my team every time, so I just let them play it, and I haven't really like got the screen time on it. I haven't like needed to play Monkey too much. It's kind of way we're playing off tanks, so I could definitely flex.
Talking then about flexibility, we saw Kanel occasionally flex onto something like the Moira. As a tank player, do you find your way of playstyle being changed when you have a Moira pocketing you over something like the Ana?
Yeah, well, with Ana you can play more slow, take poke, farm nano, but when you have Moira you just have to go in. 5 people running in, hope you get some kills. Becomes a lot more chaotic. But definitely changes a lot what you play. Moira and Bab and Ana. All really different.
Yeah, they are. And, for you guys, for Oblivione, obviously, getting your first win today, and you still won your map, okay? But so you still won map number 2. So, it's not like you lost every map you got subbed in. When you play, like versus these other teams, who are you looking forward to playing? Who do you think is some of the top dogs at the moment? Obviously, it was a close game with SRP Czech. But with the win over, with your team over SRP Czech, who do you think are going to be some of the top dogs this season in Contender Summer Series?
Well, definitely gonna be Twisted Minds again. I think they're a really strong team, and I wanna win against them. That's what we're looking forward.
Do you think that? Obviously against them, do you think you played like some of those rush comps? Okay, you don't have to say too much in terms of strategy, so let me know if we go too far. But in terms of the strategy versus the Pharah, is it kind of similar to what it is in past? What kind of counters that Pharah comp at the moment in practice?
Well, you kind of need Diva versus Pharah on most maps, but it's a lot about like the mind games on who do you think is gonna play each map, and you're trying to counter pick. And our team is really flexible. We can play basically anything. We have 2 tanks. We can cover everything. So we'll see. We'll see what strats we bring out.
Okay, yeah, good. Not to give too much away, and you know, obviously, a very very close game number 1. Is there anything that you want to individually say or shout out before we let you get on with your day, get some food? I know it's late for you right now.
I have another match to play.
Okay. All right. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting there's 2 more games. That was a really close game. It's like, oh, it's already over. But you know, is there anything you want to say before we let you go on to your next game?
Nothing on my mind right now.
Okay. Totally fair. Well, thank you, Vistola, for coming through. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. I think it's our first time my first time talking to you. So thanks for coming through, and we'll have to catch you later.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Vistola from Team X Oblivione. Yeah.
Oh, hello. Fancy meeting you here.
That's
It's so
completely wiped
nice.
out of my brain. Well, Moxie, obviously, like you mentioned, one more game today, obviously, versus !Play and Sheer Cold, 2 top-tier open division teams coming up in just a bit. But obviously, for now, Moxie, I think we're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we'll see you guys for Play versus Sheer Cold.
Oh, hello. Fancy meeting you here. It's so nice to see ya. Are you ready to survive the wastelands? Then you'll need to bring your shotgun, your axe, and of course, your knife for your sharp wit, if you get my drift. Hey, whoa. Hold on there. Don't forget to pick up your Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Yeah, gearing up is as easy as connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. And after that, watching the Overwatch Contender Summer Series will contribute to your drop progression, letting you claim your own wasteland-ready Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Oh, that's right. It's time to rampage. Now, get out there and slay with the Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Okay, take care now. See you in chat.
heart and soul of our sport, where these players strive to become who they're truly meant to be.
No more break, it's time for action. Welcome to Overwatch Contenders.
Welcome back, everybody, for game number 2 in the European Conference. We obviously have the Summer Series going on at the moment. Game number 1 was incredibly riveting and close. Now we have that second game to start us off. We got exclamation point play versus sheer cold. I don't even, do we call it exclamation point? Just call them play, Moxie. I mean, you know, obviously these two teams, I think, you know, have similar stories. And we're going to have to go over play first, kind of just to see what these two teams have to show on the roster.
Well, I hope everyone is buckled in and ready for more Symmetra Reinhardt plays to come through. Although they're actually not going to be starting out with Pack in the lineup, so potentially no Symmetra in control this time around. Groink, however, does tout themselves as being a little bit of a Reinhardt main. I'm more interested in seeing whether or not Gucci or Swag Money, as they are listed here, is going to be actually opting for the Echo, as we have just seen Pharah and Echo really do rule the roost when it comes to control on Lijiang. They're going to be going up against a team that have been trying to make it higher and higher into contenders every year that they compete. Sheer Cold is back, and this roster is looking a little bit newer, given that some of their players have drifted towards other tier 2 teams in the interim between spring and summer.
You'll have to see how Sheer Cold does compared to previous. Like you said, a couple players just kind of moving away, but obviously still here, right? At the end of the day, still in contenders in EMEA. So, you know, obviously with a little bit of new faces, we'll have to see how they do. But, you know, like you said, Moxie, overall, you said you would not be surprised if we saw more of that Reinhardt Symmetra stuff.
Yeah, purely because, I mean, you have Pac on your team. If you've been watching the Overwatch World Cup conference, you're going to know Pac from Team France, where he would Symmetra TP, and Ben Best on the Reinhardt would cause absolute havoc. France honestly looks absolutely terrifying. Moving from those conferences into the actual finals that are going to be at BlizzCon. However, Ben Best is not going to be here. It is going to be Groink, and are we going to see that synergy still there? Well, we're going to have to wait and see until Pac is actually subbed into play. It's really interesting, though, that they decide to opt out of pulling out Pac in this first control map, considering it's Lijiang Tower, and we've just seen in that very last series how controlling Symmetra with a Reinhardt can be on Control Center.
Yeah, I think it can be quite difficult to deal with, like you said, and, you know, I think because of how, you know, scrims have been going or something along those lines, I could see, you know, potentially why they would not play with a couple of those players. That's the biggest thing, right? Is we don't know a lot of what's going on behind the scenes, right? A lot of these teams practice against each other. I'm sure play is scrimmed against Sheer Cold at points. Maybe they know something we don't. Obviously, also in terms of like overall win rate in scrims and stuff, I know I probably harp on that a bit too much, but I think that like overall the coaching staff and a lot of the, you know, people behind the scenes management are really looking at how individual players do in practice when they want to sub somebody in, because a lot of these teams, they're rocking with those 6-man, 7-man lineups, which usually results in a little bit of, you know, deciding what to do, who to run with, what to plan certain maps. And obviously you could just kind of dictate via the stats how, you know, it's a little bit rudimentary, but you can kind of run what with certain players based on win rates and stuff. And for, you know, both of these teams, I think that we're in for a very close matchup. In the very first round on Control, the first sub map on Control, will be that on Lijiang Tower, will be that control center. And it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to run, what both these teams want to run, considering we haven't seen them in Contenders just yet.
Yeah, it should be Brawl. Honestly, like, Control Center is where Brawl just finds its most value. I would say it's probably the strongest map, given that King's Row has seen a movement away from the Reinhardt maining to things like the Winston, the Ramatra, the D.Va, even on occasion the Orisa as well, to be able to break through some Ram defenses. But Control Center has remained very firmly Reinhardt-favored territory, where you can really go ham with the hammer, capitalize on your Mei walls that are able to isolate and zero down these targets. And especially for Symmetra too, not just initially getting that teleport out at spawn to be able to get into position faster, to look for those isolations with the Mei cooldowns, but also to be able to beam through the other Reinhardt shield and then start connecting that damage and pressuring the backline into throwing out lamp early.
Both starting out with the Reinhardts, Symmetra's on both sides box, you called it, Baptiste, Lucio as well. Already early wall off from Swag Money 4. The zone out Sheer Cold as they rotate around the point. Man, that name's gonna be so funny to say. Rotating around the point though, Sheer Cold do have that first control teleport from Keo early on that backside, but it's the wall onto plays Reinhardt player. Committing that immortality early. Reflex the one to come out on top to get the Jaru early on. Now no more Reinhardt means Sheer Cold should be free to kill. Right, Keo just TPs above the high ground onto the Baptiste, looking for that Symmetra. I mean, they're not doing so really. The target focus is not the best. It relies on Reflex and get again another kill, in which he does.
Yeah, really good, however, pressure. Keo getting that teleport and pushing Yoham off of that high ground angle so the Baptiste isn't just removed and staring down at the fight going on alongside them. And Reflex coming in with those kills has actually catapulted them ahead in terms of amplification matrix charge, which is perfect for the Reinhardt. A couple of fire strikes through an Ant Matrix and you've got a kill.
And Matrix over the top from Reflect. We've seen a lot of Baptiste do this. Kind of the Violet spot on this map, right? He was the one that really did it a lot. No kills coming of it, though.
A lot of sustain, though. That is what that angle favors. It's not aggression from your Reinhardt. It's much more sustainability for your team as Kroink actually just holds the line. It's in the middle of the Ant Matrix, using that Symmetra shield for the rest of their team to be able to be safe. Shatter gets blocked, but Jaru doesn't have the ultimate charge to be able to return it.
Yeah, great shield management from Jaru. Now drops back onto Keo. Be that low ground. Also onto Momentum. I mean, just outplayed in terms of that Rhine gameplay, just on the recontest for Sheer Cold. With the Ant Matrix on top of it, they reclaim the objective.
Momentum is going to have the soundbar, but it really is going to be relying on a shield block from Groink to be able to stop Jaru from bringing that hammer down and stunning the Lucio so that the target focus from Sheer Cold removes the soundbar from being in play. It is actually going to be a very just aggressive teleport from Sheer Cold all the way back towards that point to bait a play closer.
20% now on the board. Ultimate's still going in favor of Sheer Cold. They commit that Symmetra wall early. Jaru walks up with it, able to get probably earlier there too as well. Blizzard from Swag Money on the backside with the beat drop, able to get rid of Zodiel. Meanwhile, towards the backside of the point, Jaru came back for the Mei player of Swag Money, and doing a job hunting him down. Going down to 1 HP is not going to be able to live, and the shatter on top of it only hits the ragdoll of one member. Groundlink's also back. They're able to get Straybore, so no Lucio here. The rest of Jaru's team, Sheer Cold, trying to float around the objective. Able to get one with Exodio, but Condi does get picked off by Momentum, so it's 1-for-1. Meanwhile, countercharge by Groundlink takes Exodio away from the objective. Very, very crucial kill to get Wall incredibly low on HP. Yoham does trade back Keo, so every time it seems like Play gets a kill, Sheer Cold trade it back, and they're still healthy here as well. Groundlink is not able to get a lot of these kills until his Baptiste returns, in which now he does. So a lot of shield pressure happening onto him. He's going to have to back up around the corner.
Yoram doing a very good job as well, just making sure that he's pressuring the Rhine shield, all of the plays behind it. Early Maywall comes through, again forcing Play into a horrible rotation. As they are able to isolate one target, but no kill come through. The lamp is huge!
It's huge, but unfortunately it's deleted instantly by Reflect, who gets 2k. Groundlink is walking to Zodiel. Both Baptiste players playing incredibly well. But in this fight in particular, Reflex comes on top.
Reflex has really been just doing numbers in terms of damage too, right? Building up amplification matrix, really good lamps to be able to save the team. Groink is now going to be able to have that shatter momentum with the soundbar sustainability, so that Play can just sustain and stall so they're able to match the percentage Sheer Cold have already picked up.
Early TP to force out the Mei wall from Swag Money. Condi, the rest of Sheer Cold now walk in with their Mei wall. Use it on the other side. Symmetra turret still slowing down. Decided Sheer Cold, the Blizzard, to zone out, but Exodio gets one. The immediate shatter after the counter charge from Jaru does not connect from Groundlink. Although Sheer Cold still up in this fight. Jaru is so low. Groundlink eventually will find in the Blizzard also. Condi finds momentum, but the immortality field is forced because of it. Meanwhile, Ant Matrix via the backside. Groundlink's able to find Exodio. Keo also onto Yoham. Not a lot of time left for Sheer Cold. They have to beat drop with just Condi and Strebber here on this point, but they don't really have a lot of the damage. Eventually, Strebber falls. Jaru is back and is building the shatter, but it's just him now. really can't even go for it, saving it for next map. It's really 1-0 for Play, taking that round number 1.
Well, speaking about saving for next map, Exodial actually swaps onto the fire towards the tail end of that fight, and that may be, Justin, a tease of what is to come. As Control Center taken off of the board, we're now taken to somewhere where the skies are a little bit taller, there's a little bit more room, and Pharmacy becomes a little bit better of a flavor for the GPS to be able to field towards. Chat prediction's pretty split between these two, but it feels like everyone is going with Play, and no surprises. Some of these names on these rosters are incredibly predominant. Momentum coming all the way over from the American side of Contenders has been around for a very long time, since 2019, floated through Odyssey, Young and Beautiful, Choose Money Crew's American squad before falling over to Cryax and now finding themselves over here.
Yeah, that's interesting to make that swap over to Europe. And, you know, on top of it being like a primarily French roster, I'm sure they have a lot of fans there. Jaru gets that lamp early, counter charge by Growing towards the backside, also finds Strebber. Perfect team fight win for Play, as Sheer Cold now have to desperately back up.
Good wall, as Condi is unfortunately forced to just throw themselves off of that map so that they don't give ultimate charge over towards Play. Symmetra being here, though, for Sheer Cold does mean that that bridge, that dangerous route where you do get punished and burn a lot of time, allowing the team already in control at that point to just rocket up in terms of percentage charge, is denied, but they're not going for that window. Doesn't feel like at least is trying to fake.
Daru, no! He TP'd out his team.
I think that was a little bit of a miscommunication. That one person thought that the TP was ready, and even then, the Reinhardt should never be the first one through. The Reinhardt is the one who has to hold the shield up and guarantee that everyone makes it past, and that the teleport isn't destroyed, leaving your team separated before you're able to commit the rotation.
Now they walk in through the white room, 80% towards that Symmetra. Oh my god, Grounding with a TP, Shatter play. Amazing communication from Keo and that main tank player. Strebber does find Keo after that. The counter charge comes through from Jaru, but he's not even close to ultimates here, so really just building up ult charges. Play crosses that 50% mark.
Look, sometimes you just hit the teleport shatter, and in fact it's so good we get to see it twice, throwing entirely unexpected, just delivers such a good ultimate to Sheer Cold's doorstep, and they're forced to rotate yet again. And because of how one-sided this Reinhardt battle has been, Jaru is only now coming online to his first shatter.
Yeah, and you know, with how Grounding's playing, I wouldn't be surprised if they even build up another via the Ant Matrix or anything in this fight. Meanwhile, they use the Ant Matrix into a Fire Strike, build that charge, 70%. Keo also finds Condi on that backside teleport. That's a great kill for them. They still have the Symmetra wall as well. Now they use it towards that point. Condi with the Symmetra, or with the May ultimate, the Blizzard, isn't even here in this fight. Able to play on the backside, build towards some ultimates. Jaru still sitting with the Shatter. Strebber gets the beat drop before he dies to Keo on the back. Both beats pop. Jaru still sitting with the Shatter. Shatter's the Baptiste the back, but actually doesn't even hit. It looked like it almost hit, but unfortunately, no connection for Jaru, and now we'll die, and we'll lose the map. Estimation by Play will take map number 1.
Looking like an incredibly strong Reinhardt-anchored team. Yet again, we get to see Reinhardt come to the absolute forefront of EMEA matters. It's going to be Jaru taking play of the game. Really good fire strikes to come through, really good aggression, but I mean, when we headed over towards Gardens, it's just that imbalance of positioning, right? Every single time that Reinhardt is forced to rotate, even sometimes trying to go for that Symmetra TP before the team is properly ready. Again, you can just see the discomfort to come through. You don't get to be able to use those fire strikes to be able to keep pace with the other Reinhardt in terms of shatter, so you don't get to fall into the mind games where you have the counter shatter available, and as a result, Groink gets to go so much more aggressive with their ultimates as opposed to Jaru, who's just forced to play on the defensive, and it allows them to be caught unawares by that Symmetra TP play coming through from Play.
Yeah, I mean, looking good so far. Looks like the chance right with the predictions as of right now. The Zhang Tower going on the side of Play. We'll have to see where Sheer Cold wants to choose next. You know, obviously they still took that mirror towards the very end. I mean, do you think it'd be a good idea for them to potentially, you know, mix something up on this next map?
It's a really tough one, right? Like we said, a lot of these rosters do have some pretty diverse players in terms of hero picks that they have available. We're yet to see a couple of those players come through. Maybe we're going to see some substitutions. Maybe we're going to see a couple of pushes towards dive maps to come out. But again, like, if you feel strong in the Reinhardt matchup, and we did see that Jaru was actually matching Groink in the Reinhardt matchup on control, a lot of the time, again, it just was down to the fact that momentum is against you on those control maps. You're always losing uptime for hammer swings, fire strikes, and charges when you're in those rotations, because so much pressure on the Reinhardt is about holding that shield up and guaranteeing that the team behind you don't get picked off early.
And now, obviously, we have to wait and see what the next map is chosen by Sheer Cold. And, you know, for them, maybe a map that is a little bit more aerial could support their, you know, overall play style, in which the next map will be Nubani. You think that this map in particular, Nubani, is going to favor the likes of Sheer Cold to maybe counter what play is doing?
Well, there's always like a game plan, right? These teams, they have coaches, they have analysts. They know if they do lose that first control map where they want to end up. I'm anticipating a substitution to come through from play side. I believe that we're probably going to be seeing TVNT come through, their Diva player, just so that they can push towards something like the dive, considering Groink is a very strong Reinhardt player. But if he's only able to helm the Reinhardt, well, that's where it's potentially going to fall apart. There's a reason that we're seeing Numbani. It is going to be that push towards the dive and away from these Rein compositions. If you don't try to mirror into it, you're not going to have a brilliant time.
No, yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think it's always tough on Nubani to play anything besides like a lot of that div. I think a lot of teams are kind of realizing, okay, on first point in particular, it's hard to make the Reinhardt compositions work. So that's probably why you rock a lot of that diva composition. That's what we saw earlier in the matchup with SRP Check and Exoblivione, why they subbed in Ice Nom to maybe mix things up, have Ice on that diva as well. But you're right, Moxie, for play, they're going to be subbing in that diva. Meanwhile, it looks like on the opposite side, Sheer Cold don't look like they're going to mix anything up.
I mean, Jaru's pretty flexible in terms of that tank role. So it's going to be interesting, like you said, to see what tank we're actually going to see coming through from Sheer Cold. As maybe we're going to get to see the Pharah, maybe a little bit of Echo, potentially the Ashe as well from Exodio.
Ooh, yeah, maybe a little bit of Ashe. I'm curious to see if they decide to play it. I think that, you know, like you said, Jaru's a pretty flexible player, and, you know, that really enables a lot of teams these days. So we'll have to see if they can capitalize off of it as we head into Nubani. Probably going to have, like you mentioned, Moxie, a bit of that Winston versus Diva matchup, in which I know you favor that Diva a lot of those times, right? I do favor the Diva a lot of the times. Winston has his place. Again, like we do talk about how strong Primal can be, the bubble as well, being able to block a lot of the line of sight of heals. But Defense Matrix is able to do that with a far shorter cooldown. The problem becomes the Diva loses a lot of power in that matchup because Self-Destruct is blocked by bubble, as opposed to Primal Rage. You can try and boost into it to intercept, but it's still going to be able to outlast the boosters, and even then you want to save those to make sure you don't get juggled off of the map. Yeah. Let's see who comes out on top here, and I'm not going to bring up the Primal Rage discussion, Mox. You know, I'm looking for an opportunity. I kind of want to, but like, yeah, I guess you're not standing on the soapbox. No, I mean, it's just, I've seen some Twitter arguments about the Primal Rage is an overpowered ability, and that's the only reason I want to keep bringing it up, and, you know, whatever. Who cares? It doesn't matter. We'll have to see if it actually works out here. We'll have to see who comes out on top. Obviously, I don't think it's indicative of, you know, Primal Rage in particular. But play on the defensive side, Moxie. Looks like they're going to be playing Hanzo Tracer instead of an Ashe with the Brigitte and Anna. Yeah, one-shot potential, a lot of information as well, with that Sonic being able to catch out Sheer Cold's approaches, wraparounds, and rotations, and that's going to be really instrumental in keeping Reflect alive. Momentum is going to be there with the Brigitte to be able to peel the flail to try and stop Condi from being able to approach, as well as block Jaru's dive. But if the health packs run out, and you're not prepared to deal with that drop-down, the Sana is not going to be around for long. Condi already poking over the top side. Early scout dive from Jaru. Meanwhile, Andy's still sitting over the top side. Tracer of Swag Money sitting over the top right. 2 Reflect also ready to go with an anti-grenade. Has that high ground position to enable him. Meanwhile, oh my god, what a set. Was that a set nade from Johan to enable them to kill Reflect earlier on. And now they're just going to walk forward, get the resurrect as well onto Jaru after losing him earlier on. TVNT loses that mech too. Another nade from Yoham. What a first point take from Sheer Cold.
What a drop from Condi as well. Straight through that Diva mech, taking full advantage of the set nade that lands onto Reflect. And as a result, this is actually something that we were talking about with Vestola, right? When you see that matchup, that dynamic of meta between the Diva and the Winston, Echo does kind of come along and tip the scales, right? The beam being able to go through defense matrix just melts a lot of what should be peel. Or Reflector's play is forced. Hit scan coming through immediately from Kyo. Swag Money's going to be onto an Echo. Momentum actually is not going to be that appeal for the Ana. It's instead prioritizing damage output to try to take Condi down as quickly as possible. So this is the glass cannonball.
Yeah, Condi already poked and gets killed by Kyo. We needed a little bit of heals there from either Trevor or Yoham, but didn't get them in time. Meanwhile, Kyo hit by the Ancient Grenade. Nobody else able to trade that back. Res still available though, so they get that res from Momentum onto Kyo with relative ease actually. Still sitting above the high ground. TVNT kind of rotate faster via that high ground position than Jaru can for that peel, but the cart's still pushing forward. Meanwhile, Condi over the top just going for some poke. Reflect just kind of avoiding it, still sitting with the nano boost via that low ground, ready to nano either TVNT or Swag Money. Even the Rash, nano engage on the Winston via Sheer Cold side. Early engage, just pocketing through it.
Dupe on Mercy?
Second jump. The dupe onto Mercy, in fact, so Condi gets that Mercy pocket, or gets the Mercy pocket onto Jaru, but no kills actually come of it. Meanwhile, Bob counter engaged, able to kill Condi via that high ground now. Down one, Sheer Cold trying to equalize it, but is backing up and has to deal with Kyo. Now gets that 2K off of the backside of the Bob. Sheer Cold, they're going to back up.
Okay, Condi just wanted to use the duplicate. Is now actually going to be swapping on to the Sombra. So Sheer Cold going to be going full dive, full backline harassment, as Reflex still hasn't actually used this nano boost. TVNT does get hit by the anti and loses the mech before the duration runs out. As a result, Reflex can't use the ultimate to be able to save them, and TVNT is forced to use self-destruct to get the mech back faster.
Great nade again from Yoham. Now Dynamite connects onto the Rita of Trebor, allowing Swag Money to come through. Also Kyo eventually burning out Yoham with some Diva support there. And another reset for Sheer Cold.
Momentum has the Vance. Swag Money's going to be able to have the duplicate too, so that's a full refresh on the Echo's health bar. Late hack comes down onto Swag Money, but defense matrix from TVNT just peels the damage away, so the Echo will be able to survive. And Condi is forced to translocate out, just trying to build up towards the EMP, but because you're going after the Echo rather than the battery that is this Diva mech, the EMP build up is so slow.
Alright, Condi going via that low ground towards TVNT, who's, I'm sure, well aware of this Sombra, trying to Sombra check at the moment. Gets the hack, though, onto them. Meanwhile, double support pocket with the Valkyrie onto TVNT to make sure they don't die. Sheer Cold now goes for the dive onto Kyo. Also the copy from play, so Swag Money gets the snipe onto Yoham after copying to Winston. TVNT also finds Exodio. Some ultimates used there, and Jaru commits the Primal Rage, even though Straber just fell there. Condi built up the EMP, but of course he's not going to use it. Jaru's going to back up.
So there is a window here for Sheer Cold to be able to come into this next fight with EMP before Q is able to build up to the Bob. The problem is that Sheer Cold are having to regroup. Condi's just getting into position to try and use this EMP as quickly as possible. This dive follow-up has to be immediate, otherwise Q now it's too late, as the ultimate has the Bob to be able to peel EMP.
There it is, though. Still available, looking for the Ana. A lot of that target of the EMP, just his solo Ana EMPs as well. Jaru was able to get momentum because he was avoiding the EMP. Meanwhile, Kyo's able to find Jaru. Zordio comes from the top side, recalls away as Bob is there to peel from Kyo to sting on the high ground. Bit of an interesting Bob. Yoham via the low ground, able to find Swag Money 4. DVT very close to losing, and that gets the Nano Boost, even though they have the Diva Bomb in case they need to. Knowing Jaru's gone, it's just on the rest of Sheer Cold to try to win. Zodio gets the pulse bomb to Kyo, but Kyo's able to find 2 before dying. TVNT also finds Strayboard. Now a minute and 30 seconds left. Jaru actually also counter engages. A hack comes through onto TVNT, but the Rays in the middle of the open with a little bit of support from the team. Momentum's able to get Kyo back in it.
Oh my goodness, the res with the help of the defense matrix from TVNT is absolutely huge. Sheer Cold without a win condition, without an easy engagement either. Don't have EMP, don't have pulse bomb. And play sit it up on that high ground, just waiting for Jaru to go for that deep dive. The second the Winston is gone, the bubble and the jump are going to be on cooldown, and TVNT is going to be able to send the self-destruct right into that backline.
You're ready for the dive. Coach gone away. TVNT does get anti-grenaded and loses mech, but use the D.Va bomb to peel off the high ground. Cart still not pushing from the Tracer on the low ground. Now it is about 3 meters left to go. TVNT goes down to touch it. Claudia has to relocate away because he took a dynamite to the face. Meanwhile, Swag Money back for the peel on the Jaru, knowing there's no primal rage available. Surely he gets beamed here, but actually navigates this perfectly. Finds Reflect, eventually does die, but it enables Condi to find TVNT and the checkpoint. Sheer Cold will move on to third phase as the rest of play have to fall back.
TVNT now actually off of the D.Va onto the Ramatra. Condi is going to have that EMP. So you will be able to have that Nemesis form and Pummel to try to peel away any aggression that Sheercold wants to use with a nano-boosted Winston sent into your front liners. Kyo does have that Bob as well to be able to, again, peel the after effect of EMP. The second that Condi used the ultimate, Kyo used his. Are we going to see the exact same cycle?
TVNT picks off Zodiel actually earlier on as well, so I don't know if Sheercold want to commit any ultimates here. Just gonna back up, wait for the Tracer.
Kyo gets hacked before Condi actually goes for the EMP, but that reveals that position. And as a result, since they do lose the Tracer in that startup of that fight, has to translocate out and now set the EMP up yet again as TVNT, look at this, just spy checking, try and figure out where the Sombra is.
Making sure they can find them. Zodiel finds that pulse bomb to Kyo early on. There's that EMP though.
Bob's still
Snuck
out.
behind also. Stalled out the Bob after it came out, like you mentioned. Yoham eventually takes out Kyo's Bob. Meanwhile, Jaru commits the Primal Rage over the high ground as well because player trying to win this with their ultimates. However, Jaru with Primal eventually gets Kyo before the Mercy Pocket can get there. Swag Money with the copy, able to get Yoham before coming out of mech. Nice sleep dart onto Jaru there in that fight as Sheer Cold regroup around that payload.
Kyo is now actually going to go not onto the Cassidy. Oh, no, onto the Cassidy. There's a little bit of miscommunication, I think, trying to figure out how best to deal with Jaru on this Winston. Whether it's going to be the Reaper, you just close up the distance and use the shotguns, or whether it's the Cassidy and you try and deal with the Tracer and the Sombra with the nade! Stopping the recall, stopping the blink, and stopping the translocate. Exodial has absolutely no chance.
Nice shot from Kyo. 10 seconds left to go. Rally was used by Strebor, so Sheer Cold obviously want to win right here and right now. They use the Nano and Jaru to take us a poke. Condi able to get rid of Swag Money. No Rains really in sight. As of the angle, it's a bit tough to get it off. Over the right side, it looks like Sheer Cold set it up. Or setting up. Condi close to that EMP as well. Via the flank, Kyo is getting some nice shots on the Jaru, but no kills to be found. Nice pulse bomb from Exodial. They've been so good so far, though it's traded out. And then Kyo comes to the flank and finds the nade onto Condi, though it's traded out. Buying Jaru instantly on the cart. It looks like there's some bubble happening from TVNT, but gets slept by Yoham. And then the peel eventually comes through. TVNT still able to get some heals, though, via that backside. Eventually, the flail is too much for TVNT to deal with. Still having Jaru here and double supports means they can still win it here. Sheer Cold.
Deadeye.
Swapping over to the Soldier to get back to Heartless. Deadeye comes through in the sleep dart and nade onto Kyo. The follow-up is there. Yoham. Nice sleep onto Kyo, who set up that Deadeye. Meanwhile, Anti onto Yoham and Strebor enables Swag Money to get one, but Exodial finds Reflect on the trade. Swag Money trying to build up towards the pulse bomb via that cart. Jaru also has the prime way to stall. Strebor able to get TVNT out of the fight. Nice Brigitte play so far. The pulse bomb. It's only enough to get onto Condi. Momentum gets the reds too, but nobody else is here. And Sheer Cold in overtime will cap out on Nubani.
Huge sleep on Yoham with that cancellation of the Deadeye. That could have been nasty for Sheer Cold to deal with. But they're able to push through Numbani. They're really quickly also able to recognize the problems that they have with every single engagement, especially off of the back of that EMP. Like, one time, they try and go for the EMP to just nuke down Reflect as quickly as possible, and Kyo with that Bob has the time to be able to send it in and use as a bodyguard for the backline. And then the next time that we see Conti with an EMP, it's actually off of the back of Zodiel going in with the pulse bomb, pushing on to Kyo, getting the Ash out of the way. Even though the Bob had gone through, because Kyo had to use it in such an awkward position, it's awkwardly positioned as a result in terms of the angle that it has available. So it's pretty easy for Sheer Cold to be able to burst down.
Sheer Cold now will be swapping over to the defensive side. I think they mix anything up here, Moxie. It looks like they're kind of mixing it up with Condi on the Tracer and Zodiel on the Ash.
Yeah, Zodiel's going to be on the Ash to still have that form of pressure to try and match not just Kyo if Kyo decides to come for the Ash yet again, but also to play hit scan counter for Swag Money on this pocketed Echo. TVNT is going to be a little bit of a cat amongst the pigeons in terms of defense matrix, being able to nullify a lot of the dynamite damage as well as that poke to be able to set up Kyo to have a lot more of an unfair advantage, both damage boost and a diva behind you to be able to make sure that if your shots connect onto the enemy Ashe, they go down twice as quickly, and their shots unfortunately have to bypass such a short cooldown on that diva mech. But it does mean that Condi's going to get a lot of room to be able to pull focus away from.
Here, Cold sitting above the high ground, flail early on the TVNT to slow him down. Now goes for that first engage, maybe push Yoham off the high ground, soft engage. Zodiel, though, able to find Keo early on over the back. Rez comes through from momentum. The defensive matrix is there, so Keo's back in it within 30 seconds. You still have the entire team here. Meanwhile, Condi still looking for that dive, at least ready to go for the counter dive. As soon as play want to go forward, Keo tries to walk up to beta, but it's Zodiel again to find Swag Money. That swap over to the Ashe working out now comes via the low ground. Drops the dynamite as well. There's so much damage that play has to deal with as they wait for Swag Money to come back.
Yeah, Zodiel dropping down off of the high, the normal advantage pot, to the low to be able to bypass the diva mech, drop the dynamite behind and land onto the squishy backline below. As Sheer Cold still going to be holding incredibly strong. The pincer control that they have available of just Jaru sitting anchored up on this catwalk and then Condi being able to blink between the two makes it impossible for play without a kill to be able to move through main, but that should signal movement on the point.
Are a bit too aggressive in the situation. Maybe expected some heals from Straber and Yoham, but you know, they were doing the best they could, building towards that nano. Condi, meanwhile, on the backside, takes 2 shots from Keo to the head. Amazing 2-tap from them. Bob also comes through to touch the point as actually gets the kill after there was a nano boost on Swag Money. Wasn't enough to keep him alive via the Bob. TVNT, meanwhile, on the backside, able to find 2 against Jaro with the nano boost. Keo also connects onto Yoham, so even though Sheer Cold had a decent re-engage, it's going to result in nilch. This play will be taking point A.
That's really unfortunate for Sheer Cold too, because they heavily invested in trying to be able to win that fight, and as a result regain that positioning on the high ground that was strangling and suffocating players moving forward. And as a result, when we head into Streets phase, they are so far behind in terms of ultimate economy. They need Condi to come in with a pick on the pulse bomb, and even then it has to be on the Mercy, otherwise it's just going to get res right back up.
Condi, all the same to the low ground with Jaru jumps up top. As Pummel Rage ready to go, play on the other side, still pushing that cart. As it looks like it's Swag Money, the one pushing the cart. Condi out up the top, drops the pulse bomb, but it's avoided narrowly with the coach gun and Guardian Angel to float away. Meanwhile, the cart almost crossing around the corner. Jaru goes with the Primal Rage, aggressive on the Ana, avoids the sleep dart as well. On to reflect, but gets all those cooldowns out. Sleep, anti, and the peel. Jaru has to get out though, but he doesn't. Took too much damage from Keo in the backup play. They just had too much damage for him. Keo now comes over the top, does take some poke, but has the heals there. Straber though on the downside again will fall. Sleep dart committed by Yoham as the fallback came through. Eventually aggressive play from Keo to Zodiel on the backside, missing 2, waiting for Jaru to come back. Now Sheer Cold just trying to regroup here. Play not really taking full advantage of the space they're given. Are looking for Exodia on the left side. Jaru gonna be able to touch, but doesn't have any ultimates here. Just gonna have to rally in a second. It's poked down, armor removed. Swag Money has to recall. Nano boost on the TVNT. Now goes aggressive for Exodia. Surely he falls. Yes, he does. TVNT will track him down. Rally of the cart. But Jaru's so low. Needs a lot of healing from Yoham and to build the nano boost as well. But Yoham goes down to Keo before he can get the nano. Keo with some nice shots. You still have Swag Money the rest of the play here on the cart too. Jaru falls. No more ultimates committed. Condi commits the pulse bomb, but it might be far too late. They got TVNT's mech, but the point is captured by play.
Target focus is really closely as well on Zodiel. Like, play have such a good understanding. Rally you can sustain through with in terms of just Ana and Mercy pocket. Pulse bomb, you've got the resurrection available for. Same thing for the nano boost. You can chunk through that damage reduction with Q being pocketed by momentum on this Mercy. The Bob is what you're worried about. The Bob is the thing that's going to immediately be able to punish momentum any second the Mercy tries to take advantage of the mobility of that kit. As Q is boarding towards the Bob of their own! Straver swap towards the Mercy to try and find the pocket. The play still comes out on top.
Nade used by Yoham though, so Swag Money gets that kill on the backside unless he hit 2 taps very quickly. Play tries to walk in. Bob still getting maximum value. TVNT also finds Straber. Supports removed. Also, Exodia is in this cart. Moxie, it's nearing the checkpoint.
Yeah, and that kill is permanent onto Yoham as well. Q had already been able to find 1 kill and force the resurrection onto Zodiel. Sheer Cold, no one going to be able to touch him. We go from one extreme of Numbani to another entirely. Over 3 minutes in the time remaining for play. What an absolute monstrous pace they're able to set.
I know the first game in Contenders, we saw that you know, first point hold, but I feel like, you know, recently, you know, in a lot of these payload maps, the defensive teams have slowly just, I don't know if it's gotten worse or something now, but it always feels like we're just seeing these full, you know, map tap outs now, Monty.
A lot of it is down to just the fact that Kyo is constantly getting that pocket, right? Zodiel, yes, does get a Mercy pocket towards the end, but in my opinion, it's just way too late. As a result, Sheercold have to be so much more passive in how they're actually able to approach holding that high ground when we head towards Streets phase on defense. They play it perfectly when we see it here on point A, but again, when you have a Mercy pocketed Ashe, all it takes is one too many shots to come through and rip through your defenses, find those kills back to back to back, and you're just not going to be able to recover. And Sheercold investing so many ultimates by prioritizing that defensive high ground hold, unfortunately bit them. And horribly, majorly, in terms of long-run longevity that they had available to them.
And now Sheercold, obviously, they capped out, but because there was no time left, and Play captured out with 3 minutes and 3 seconds there. Sheercold will, at best, get a draw here, whereas Play will have 3 minutes to take this first point, even one tick on the board, and they will get the win here.
They don't even need a kill. They can literally just poke and build an ultimate and then bob onto the point, but they're definitely looking for it. Condi and Zodiel both falling incredibly low.
Yeah, it's tough to try to, you know, get fixated on one game plan at this level. Play over the top, sends TBNT in, and the 8 slows him down. Actually loses the mech to Exodial on the Ashe. Also hits the baby shot, or the shot on the baby diva. Surely no res will come through because Jaru also negates that. And they're actually going for a bit more here. They're going past the bus to find these kills, and they do so.
You need to find stagger picks. By pushing Play back towards their spawn, you're cutting down on the amount of uptime that both supports are having to be able to build into ultimates. Because that is what's going to happen, right? Play are literally just playing poke at the moment. If they find a kill, brilliant, that's when they're going to make that move. But until then, it's just waiting for Reflex to be able to come in with the nano boost, for Kyo to be able to come in with the bob. That's the true test that Sheercold are faced with.
Black Money over the bottom left flank, goes for the nades. Unfortunately, cannot connect all of them. Now they know where that echo is coming from. Meanwhile, Kyo, off of that distraction, that was provided down below, tries to go for a dynamite. But it's countered by Sheercold at the moment, who are building up those ultimates right now. Somebody towards that point is there for Play to try to contest it. Meanwhile, Sheercold playing back, go for that counter dive. Now Reflect is built towards that nano. Does have it ready to go for this engage that Sheercold surely will do in just a second. Or Play goes first. They committed on the echo. Meanwhile, nano engage from Jaru off both sides allows Condi to find one. As the rotate comes back through from Condi, has to deal now with Swag Money. Unfortunately, not a lot of value found with the nano on the offensive side. Meanwhile, a lot of damage being taken by Swag Money to Sky to Jaru, and the rest of Sheercold, who used the rally. Kyo also falls through Zodiel on that low ground. I don't think the res is there. Rest of Play on the inside. They have to decide if they want to commit ultimates or not, or just die. It looks like they just want to die. Commit the Diva Bomb, though. They're still trying to fight around this right now, Moxie. Play have to deal with the Pulse Bomb, though, from Condi. Immediately into TNT, but he gets healed up immediately by Reflect. They have some ultimates to come back through. Over the top, Exodial still sitting with the bomb, too. Now 53 seconds left to go.
It's the only ultimate that Sheercold have available to them. Play have that duplicate. Valkyrie popped immediately to be able to enable this aggressive dive from Swag Money, looking to try and find a pick. Baits out the bob early, and more importantly, it's not on point. So Sheercold have to touch onto it to be able to contest.
Yeah, it's only in the high ground, but they're prioritizing the high ground with these bobs, and it almost worked out until Strayberg got picked by TBNT. So TBNT went aggressive. Jaru also falls, and with 23 seconds left, all Play has to do now is rotate to the point and deal with Condi. Condi has to recall early dynamite on them. That surely will mean they fall. Lucio just a touch for a bit longer in Play. It was a lengthy new Bonnie, but they will be going up 2-0 in the series, putting themselves on map point.
Yeah, Play, like I said, they just needed to win one fight. The second that TVNT gets enabled to go that aggressive and finds that pick onto Brigida, so much sustainability is drained away from Sheercold, who were able to survive as long as they did because they had the sustain, right? When we see Play actually decide to make their move and throw ultimates and then properly go for that contest on the point, trying to split the focus, Sheercold actually react to it perfectly. They know that the target focus is attempted to be split. So what do? They actually simultaneously rally and primal, so that the primaling Winston can deal with the factor of the echo, and everyone else can stay pocketed up and healed by that Brigida rally, so that when the dive, the actual danger that you have to worry about comes through, you've got the shielding. You don't need the Winston to be there to peel for you. It really is perfect. Unfortunately for Sheer Cold, however, there's a fight afterwards, and when they lose that Brigida, when they don't have something like a Nano Boost or a Primal to be able to make up for that absence, it just becomes too much for them to overcome.
And now we're going to a short break. When we come back, we'll see you guys. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back in about 3 to 4 minutes. So after a short break, we'll be back with that number 3. Be right back.
You like solving problems. Problems like how to stop that tracer from deleting your backline. I know just what you're thinking. Go bring a turret. But y'all can't solve all your problems by simply bringing an extra friend to the battlefield. For that, you need the Contenders Torbjorn skin. Solve your problems by connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. After that, watching Overwatch Contenders Summer Series will contribute to your drops progress, letting you claim your Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin. Even your turret gets an upgrade. Warning, the Overwatch Contenders Torbjorn skin does not come with extra or upgraded turrets. Build instructions will not be provided. By picking Torbjorn, you waive a claim towards any destroyed turrets. No refunds, no exchanges, and no take-backsies.
Welcome back, everybody. At the moment, play is up 2-0 versus Sheer Cold. We are going into that map number 3. We'll see if play can make that full 3-0, or if the reverse sweep can happen for Sheer Cold. So far on day number 1 of Contenders Europe in the Summer Series, we are on that second and last game over here. And that number 3, Moxie, will be Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Yeah, and I mean, off of the back of that map being picked, I'm not expecting a lot of substitutions to come through from either of these sides, right? We've just moved away from Numbani, a map which is very heavily favored by dive compositions, and moving into Watchpoint Gibraltar, even though the map has seen a little bit of a facelift in terms of defenders getting some avenues to be able to prevent a couple of snowballs towards B into C especially. It's still incredibly focused towards that high ground, so the Winston, the Diva is going to be incredibly predominant. We might maybe see the Hanzo come through again, or even the Ashe to be able to duel for both of these sides, try and take control of that high ground on A. The attacking team wanted to push towards Catwalk, and the defenders wanting to hold the attacking side around those lower corners for as long as possible.
Oh, we'll have to see who can actually come out on top. Obviously, in this next one, it seems like for the side of Play, they have that momentum on their side, no pun intended, because they have a player named Momentum. But, obviously after New Bonnie, you have to feel that Gibraltar is a similar setup, right? With all of the high grounds and the spots you could play at. Obviously they've got to have that slight edge, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we also know that Jaru is a very good Winston player, and it feels like this is more Shikol trying to play to their strengths rather than putting a lot of pressure on themselves to maybe go somewhere like Circuit where the Sigma is more desirable. I would say that Jaru's Winston is better than the Sigma flexibility that we've seen from some of these tank players to come through. So honestly, I sort of applaud Shikol for having that sort of confidence to stick to a dive-heavy composition map after you did just lose a dive matchup on Numbani. But even that, it was close. 3 minutes down the drain almost on being able to full hold on Numbani defense.
That's true, yeah. They did play a bit better on the next map, and Sheer Cold is always a team that has a lot of resilience. Like you said, now, they have been sticking with those same players. Obviously, after map 1, players just subbed in TVNT. I mean, I mean, besides just like obviously the meta, do you feel like there's a difference between map number 1 play and then map number 2? Like, is there anything different with TVNT being subbed in, or do you compare to Groundwink, or do you think is it like kind of a similar team and is really not a lot of difference between both tank players in Play?
I think the difference for Play in terms of the maps that we've seen so far is resource management. TV and not TVNT, but the first time that we saw Groink, right? Groink and Control was getting a lot of resources just funneled in to keep the Reinhardt healthy, and that is just the nature of playing a Reinhardt. If you run a Reinhardt, he has a cobbled skin for a reason. He's incredibly fragile, okay? You do have to wrap him in bubble wrap and make sure that all of those vulnerabilities are eased over. But when we headed towards places like Numbani, all of the resources that were being funneled into keeping the tank sustained were then put upon Kyo's shoulders, and the Ashe absolutely popped off because, again, TVNT came into play on that D.Va, and D.Va's a little bit more self-sustainable than the Reinhardt. You've got the boosters to be able to get yourself out and back to safety with the rest of your team, and you can even go for things like the 180 defense matrices to make sure you're not punished for giving your hitbox to the other side at the same time.
All right, well, let's see what happens on Gibraltar, Moxie. Obviously, like you said, there's a lot of changes that happened to this map earlier on for the defensive side, if anything. But, this map has always been defensively favored anyways, right? I guess, maybe momentum shifts in Overwatch 2 and stuff make the map slightly more different in that side. But obviously, like you said, after the changes, we'll have to see if the defensive team, because I guess it's just always a bit random in this game, right? A lot of it is momentum based. I've always seen
it's the stagger picks. I think on Watchpoint Gibraltar were just so punishing.
Yeah,
there's a reason that now when you head into point B, respawn into C, you have that extra avenue of the door immediately leading to the defense's left so that they don't have to run in to a team who just captured B and the hangar doors are opening and the full team is there on the payload and you alone, Anna, without the rest of the team there to be able to shield you, just get run down immediately.
Sheer Cold now obviously have a decision to make. See if they want to play something. Stop spamming Ashe. We get it, Kyo.
Yeah, they don't have an understanding. They have a mercy pocket. is what they have. So Kyo is again gonna get that damage boost from momentum to be able to try and retain a hold of a catwalk as we see Sheer Cold. Zodiel just using that symmetric teleport to get the team past catwalk without taking that poke damage from the damage boost of Ashe.
Yeah, voice line spam is easily the worst thing about Overwatch, I think, with these Tracer players spamming and Doomfist as well. Meanwhile, dive comes through, hack comes as well to follow, but everybody's ready to peel for it. Let's set a play. Meanwhile, Zodiel will be the low ground, just looking to push that cart underneath. Call that area the car wash. As the cart moves forward, TVNT is dealing with Jaru, doing the top of the neutral game fight happening. Well, they actually have the Brigitte up here with Trevor.
Yeah, Shikol don't really actually have the means of being able to go toe-to-toe in terms of damage output. With Kyo, they're running Zodiel on the Tracer, not the Ashe. Even without the damage boost, to still be able to one-tap with a headshot, and as a result, Shikol trying to push this preload. Unfortunately, Kyo on the high ground, just entirely untouched, is able to continue applying pressure before the dive properly comes through. And they do find the DMAC onto TVNT, but now Jaro is forced to play aggressive without a team to back them up.
I guess with Jaro, oh my god, Yoham actually gets into the server room too via that drop in the flail too, perfectly timed. TVNT does get the mech back though, so it's even so far. Though it looks like the support setup in the server room should enable them. See if they want to go for even more of a rotate or just play over here and push this cart. Looks like Swag Money's not really able to set up on that just yet, looking for that flank over the back.
Damage is done. Keel's already got Bob.
Yeah, you're right. Keel's got Bob. Swag Money with the pulse goes back towards the cart. He's the only one that can test it. Has the health pack to player on no recall here either. Needs some help over that low ground. Keo does toss out the Bob. Jaru over the top tries to find some value, but Keo's able to find Zodio. Jaru does trade it back, so it's 1-for-1 Valkyrie versus Rowley on the low ground. Pulse bomb does stick, and it actually kills too. Momentum eventually will get the Res 2 onto Keo. So play will kind of focus around this payload. Deal with the EMP though. Condi is able to find Swag Money. TVNT also lost mech, so this could be terrible for them as Jaro's able to find momentum. TVNT finds Yoham, but Sheer Cold will actually push this payload on through.
Yeah, really good primal coming through from Jaro. Gets to go incredibly aggressive, knowing that everyone from play is going to be displaced and no one has the means, but especially with the Bob being gone, of bursting the Winston down. We're actually going to see Kyo off of the Ashe, so Dynamite AoE damage taken off of the board. Instead, what you have is Shield Break, Bubble Break, specifically with the Storm Arrows. So when Jaro actually goes for these aggressive dives, his health is going to take a dive itself.
They peek through over the top side. Sheer Cold get that pulse bomb ready to go Zodiel's side. Constant up and down from Sheer Cold. Keo onto that Hanzo does find Trevor, but has to deal with Jaru, and he does so. Jaru gets removed. Yoham does trade it back, but are still pushing from Condi down below, understanding that TVNT now comes back.
Yeah, we do see TVNT actually able to defense matrix Zodiel's pulse bomb. So Sheer Cold not able to find a pick off of that one. TVNT also holding on to that self-destruct, so if they do lose that mech, because Condi's able to find the hack and then focus them down with the rest of their team, you're immediately going to be able to sponge up the damage and get right back into your tank, because it's going to be Swag Money trying to spot out Zodiel, who was looking to pressure the cart.
It drops back down also as TVNT there, but TVNT is focused on the high ground, doesn't notice the Tracer battle kind of happening. Like to see a bit more help on TVNT's side for Swag Money. Meanwhile, Keo over the top, just spamming, looking for one-shots or just damage into Jaru. Zodiel takes some pressure from Swag Money. Down to 1 HP, needs some help, but the rest of Sheer Cold are looking for the dive with the Nano Boost engage. They do so. On to Keo in the back line, but now they're able to just back up from the Nano Boost. Condi via the low ground to try to build up towards that EMP. Doesn't have it yet. Swag Money drops away. Kind of shies away from that Tracer duel. Now comes back, and Keo hits Zodiel. Amazing shots from the Hanzo player out of play. Keo's been a real mainstay here, but Yoham on the other side finds one, and a sleep dart, and a kill on a Swag Money. Yoham, that's how you get it done for your team. Now up one, Sheer Cold. Look to peel off TVNT's Nano Boost towards the cart, knowing D.Va Bomb's about to come out. The nade comes through, and EMP, but TVNT still gets the D.Va Bomb off. They also have the Rally hack come through to make sure he doesn't remech from Condi. Perfect time Dragon Strike to try to give them some sort of kill, but Keo gets poked down low. TVNT also still out of the mech, will die to Exodio. Jaru the Primal eventually gets Keo. Reflecto has found Yoham to shut them down, but it might be far too late. Pulse Primal Swag Money is here, but I don't know if it's enough. He's just alone. Sheer Cold pushed this cart onto third base.
Jaru's primals have been so good. Here, like you said, using that Dragon Strike, not just to try and find a kill, but also just to stop Sheer Cold, split the team, make sure they're not able to pick up that checkpoint. But Jaru just pops the Primal and goes straight into Play's forces, so the rest of their team can find those kills on the squishies left behind and also pick up that checkpoint. As Play now going to be looking to find themselves in safe positions, but the nade is an absolute beaut into a rally from Strabo. 3 players in enclosed space, all hit with the stun into the Nano Boost to clear it up, and that's just the cherry on top. As Play are going to be pushed even further back. They're not playing at the moment, they're hitting pause.
I don't know if the double support ult there was necessary, but you know, they do get the fight win, and for Play's side, I would like to see Swag Money kind of start to pop off a little bit more. And at the moment, it's been tough for the Tracer player of Play to get a lot done. Meanwhile, Zodio has that pulse bomb on the other side, goes, or has to think ready to go, recalls early on. TVNT, though, has found Jaru early on, just off of a neutral engage. That's a huge pick. Slows Sheer Cold down for now.
Yeah, that's the danger when you overlap support ultimates to be able to prop up that Brigitte. You don't have it. to be able to save a player when they get chunked down, is Play just need to be able to build up a couple more of these ultimates, and then they're going to have so much stall and zoning potential. Yoham forced away into the corner from that pulse bomb, will be able to survive, but still is not in a great line of sight at the moment for the main fight. Instead, it has to take a much longer rotation up towards the high ground, and that's burning time that Sheffield really don't afford to be able to have.
Body shot on Zodiel. Forcing the recall early on. Keo gets poked, but will drop back to get some heals. Nano boost also available. EMP here keeps momentum alive with the Nano reflect. Also Dragon Strike to zone 2. Momentum's able to get the kill on the Trevor. And you have to wonder, maybe if Sheer Cold saved onto some ultimates previously, they'd be in a better spot. But now, with a minute left, they have to build up more.
Yeah, I'd have much rather seen EMP get hold on to just a little bit longer so that Johan would have been able to give the EMP on, not the EMP, the Nano Boost onto Jaru. So that even if Kyo uses that Dragon Strike to be able to zone yet again, we still see Sheer Cold with follow-up on the Sombra ultimate because it does hit a decent chunk of players. And the problem is that there's just no burst damage afterwards as Kyo does get taken down. Sheer Cold with an opening have to again back out because of the rally.
He just dies for free. You know, maybe he thought his supports were a bit closer in that fight. Now they're down that Hanzo. Momentum gets integrated by Johan with the Nano Boost of Jaru. It's far too much damage to deal with. And now TVNT tries to equalize things with aggressive deep bomb, but Johan picks him off in the air. Zodiel, meanwhile, finds one. Trosses the pulse bomb in the spawn as well. I don't think anybody else here is going to be able to touch for the side of Play. I mean, they have a Tracer to do so, but nobody else is here. And Sheer Cold, yet again, will capture out one of these maps with 17 seconds left.
That might be the pettiest thing to do with Tracer. You know the Ana's going to be respawning, so you chuck the pulse bomb so that it sticks on the spawn door. And the Ana can't walk past as a result, and Play, despite having the closer respawns and the changed architecture to make sure that you have a lot more cover and safety, so that you don't literally walk from these side spawn doors where you used to be directly into the arms of death, is unfortunately zoned off, and it will be a full push. Granted, 17 seconds remaining, but a full push nonetheless.
Ooh. Now we're going to the defensive side for Sheer Cold. Attacking side, Moxie, what do you think we did wrong there for Play on the defensive side? They eventually lost it, but I don't know. Some things just didn't seem to work out for them.
Yeah, it all sort of stems off of the domino effect of Kyo just being taken out. Plays a little bit too far forward, gets taken down. Sheer Cold then immediately just rubber band back into the fight. Yoham has the Nano Boost, allows the team to get a lot more aggressive and start really target focusing down these players before Play are able to build into ultimates to be able to peel that attention away.
Sheer Cold now on the defensive side obviously have that advantage of capping on the map, but Mox, we've seen Play cap out before. Even though they conceded on the defensive side, they've been a very good attacking team so far.
Yeah, Sheer Cold also not going to be running burst damage. It's going to be full dive yet again. Zodiel on the Tracer, Condi on the Sombra. So Kyo on this Hanzo with that Sonic is going to be the absolute bane of your existence every time you try and stealth through.
People works over him, body shot on Jaru. Pokes a bit of their armor away. Meanwhile, Zodiel backs up from that aggressive spot he was in earlier on. Kyo just looking for some damage on Jaru. Forces the bubble. Has his pocket there as well. Both teams concede that angle for now as Play. Look to kind of spam out that cart, make sure Zodiel's time is a bit rough. Kyo goes for the shot, breaks the shield as well. And a counter dive comes through actually early from Sheer Cold. With the nade, they're able to get momentum and Kyo. They do trade Trevor's life, however, and Reflect goes incredibly low, and in fact will die to TVNT, but Zodiel, meanwhile, will get rid of Swag Money. And that's not that bad from Sheer Cold.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Those kills kind of go in the favor of Play because now they get to start pushing the cart. Sheer Cold having to wait for players to regroup. It all falls onto Zodiel and Condi to be able to win this duel against the regrouping members of Play who very quickly are going to be able to overwhelm them. Condi already falling incredibly low, has to back on up as Zodiel sees the call. The regroup comes through from Sheer Cold. The high ground now is what they want to attain.
Yeah, Yoham's on a great spot on the high ground, but gives it up. Drops towards the server room side. Meanwhile, Zodiel taking the duel with Swag Money. Doesn't have a lot of support here. The Mega Health Pack also is hacked for Zodiel, so he can kind of play around that, whereas Swag Money doesn't really have a lot of room to play around the Tracer duel, so he comes back to regroup with his team. Flail to boop away. Sombra on the high ground. Jaru went for that early dive, still on his Primal Rage in just a moment. Also, they're building towards that Nano. Meanwhile, Play have some ultimates too. We'll see who decides to go first. The hack onto TVNT gets him so low. Kyo also falls low, and he gets the Nano Boost, actually. Meanwhile, Jaru gets the Nano as well to counter the Nano Hanzo on the opposite side. No kills yet for Kyo, just kind of sustained. Jaru's Nano eventually will wear off as well. But an even trade on the high ground.
Kyo now so close. That Dragon Strike is keeping pace with Condi and the EMP, so Sheer Cold have to worry about that Pulse Bomb. Swag Money throws it out, doesn't find a pick, but does delay Sheer Cold from being able to chase on some of these players left below. Swag Money is again the target of Zodiel's ire. Primal comes through from Jaru to try to disrupt these members of play and actually baits the rally out early.
Yeah, not bad from them. Into an EMP as well. Dragon Strike to go in, but immediately Momentum dies, and as does Reflect. Reflect does get Jaru at the very least. Eva Bomb as well via the low ground from TVNT. Jordy over the top still has the Pulse Bomb. Ready to go. Sheer Cold still in a solid spot, though, in the server room side. Looking to set up on the high ground.
Here, unfortunately, not able to find much of anything at the moment. As yeah, there it is. Immediately focused down. Sombra hack on Hanzo is, if you can actually manage to attain it, pretty brutal. Denying the wall climb, denying the lunge. A lot of the tools that the Hanzo uses to be able to survive those 1v1s as play without ultimates now have to build into poke.
Yeah, Kyo a bit too aggressive there without his team. Now over the top. Momentum and Reflect regroup with their team. Kyo's also going to be here, pretty much entering last fight territory. Sheer Cold will have the rally. Zodiel has the Pulse Bomb to look for via backline, but is in fact just trying to take the Tracer duel during this time. Swag Money goes via the low ground as well, being that target of Exodial. Make sure that this duel is not exactly easy for both Tracers. TVNT comes back for the peel because Jaru gets nanoed. He gets slept though. Meanwhile, over the top, trying to build towards that Primal Rage. Condi can go for the hack because everybody's so focused on Jaru, but does have the Transfer Kit out for now. Sheer Cold did build that Primal Rage onto Jaru, so now he goes for that Primal Rage play and backbinds Kyo with it again, so no nano to keep him alive this time. Play have to win this down a person. Jaru out of the Primal Rage eventually has to back up now. Swag Money go for the duel with the Tracer. Nano onto the Brigitte of all things of Momentum to walk forward. Kyo onto the Sombra on the side. Swag Money hands that pulse. He's gonna have to go big. Gets stunned and thrown away by the flail. Trevor gets Momentum. Reflex also falls. Nice rally play from Trevor and Sheer Cold on their engaged. TVNT desperately throws out the Diva Bomb, but nobody dies to it. Kyo also falls. Trevor hits him with the flail at the very end. And Sheer Cold, all they have to do now is break TVNT's mech, get the Baby Diva, and kill Swag Bunny. Recall from him just to delay it, but unfortunately, he's just saving Death Stance at this point. Sheer Cold to bring us to that map number 4.
That Tracer and Sombra just working together was absolutely brutal in stopping any cart presence that we saw play try to pick up every single time. Swag Money tried to look for a duel and then was taken down low and wanted that health back. Was not able to find it because Condi just continued to keep it hacked out of reach. And even Kyo too was denied a lot of that spacing given the fact that play weren't really able to navigate the pressure and push it cold off of those high ground avenues where the Hanzo is going to be able to look for those opening picks. As a result, Jaru just gets to occupy all of those perches, and both Yoham and Strabo get to be much more aggressive in terms of their utility usages.
So far, for Sheer Cold in the map, like you said, it just seems like everything was working in their favor. For the side of play, maybe Moxie, do you think that this could be a compositional issue at the moment with Swag Money on the Tracer and having Kyo having to play so aggressive on that Hanzo?
I think it was just a lack of how to be able to play up against this Sombra. It's really interesting that you see how they deal with that last EMP, or rather just a normal hack too. Momentum gets hacked out by Condi in the neutral, and it's something like 86% to the rally. But play panic because they've seen that when a player gets hacked, they get zero focused down incredibly quickly. And the nano boost comes out at the absolute drop of a hat. The nano boost that you ideally really want to use on your Diva mech to be able to sustain your presence on the payload and allow distractions so that Kyo can get to work and hit the shots we know he's been able to hit over the series so far.
Yeah, this has been tough. At least on that map, on that last map, we'll have to see what happens next, which is a push, obviously. Colosseo will be the next map we're going into. Play thinking that maybe this is a map that will favor them compared to where Sheer Cold decided to take us to Gibraltar. So obviously this being their map pick, maybe Play has something in mind.
Maybe we're going to see the swap back towards the Reinhardt or the Ram. Colosseo is one that a lot of these teams today have not picked for the specific reason. It's not brilliantly engineered for dive. It's really good, however, for brawl. It probably is the best push map for Brawl as it is at the moment, right? New Queen Street, a lot of high ground, lots of really long angles, lots of punishment and shield break opportunities for the DPS. Colosseo, lots of places for Reinhardts and Ramatras to be able to find early value, really tight corners as well. The ability to be able to just apply pressure on the open space in that very first fight, where with the Reinhardt and those fire strikes, the Ramatra with the primary, you can get so much damage done and pressure the other team into just backing off a fight entirely.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they decide to run for those Ryan comps on Colosseo. Obviously, it's been a while since I feel like we've seen Colosseo, Moxie. At least me and you. I think this map is always one that is kind of avoided by the pros at this point. Recently, would rather go to New Queen Street or a lot of times Esperanza. I feel like Colosseo is a map where, I mean, you talked about it before, you know, a lot of these first fights can last about 20 years and you kind of feel like the same fights happen. You have that middle section and then you have those two kind of fights by the bridge. And then that's obviously about it, right? It's kind of a bit of a one-dimensional map for some of these teams. Meanwhile, for Team Play, Moxie, you talked about him earlier. It looks like Play is actually doing a substitute. Swag Money will be out and Pack is in.
He's here. He's here. If you've been following Team Francis run in the Overwatch World Cup, you are going to be very, very familiar with this player. Does go for a little bit of initial Symmetra play, but absolutely devastating on the Hanzo as well. So really interested actually to see how that's going to affect Kyo's hero pool, because Kyo was the one on Gibraltar who did flex towards that Hanzo. And even more interestingly enough, TVNT not actually going to be getting subbed out. So this is still going to be dive compositions coming through for Play.
Okay. I mean, we'll have to see if it's something that they're used to playing as well. I mean, obviously it has to be on this map, but that is interesting, Moxie. I think that, you know, TVNT being in a lot more probably intrigues some people, right? Obviously, considering, like you said earlier, we talked about it before, about this Diva versus Winston matchup. They feel quite confident in it, obviously, right?
Yeah, it could be as well. Like you said, a lot of these fights on Colosseo take place in very staged formats. And one of the main ones after that initial first fight is the high ground that's immediately available to the side that loses. And that's where the Reinhardt can lose a lot of steam, purely because, again, you just don't have the means of being able to navigate it, and it sort of forces Pack into having to just insta-lock that Symmetra. TVNT can still go for something like the Ramatra, but the Ramatra plays in terms of tempo entirely different to the Reinhardt, right? The Reinhardt always wants to be able to brawl in and get as close as possible. That is his entire goal. That's why we see Symmetra TPs being used alongside him, so he has as little downtime as possible. Ramatra, he's a pendulum. He's a little bit of a seesaw in terms of how you want to actually time those engagements. But with a Moira, Play's going to be playing fast. Play's going to be playing at twice speed. They need to be getting in here fast.
They're playing at the back right now, but both teams kind of just feeling each other out before that robot unlocks in 10 seconds. Early Moira Orb goes deep onto Sheer Cold. Hoops them back, but actually Connie, and they flank, or they get reflect. Was that just with a shot from the May Ice Cold from across the map? Odie also finds Keo, 2 gone now for Play. Great start for Sheer Cold.
There's a reason that teams tend to take it slow traditionally on that first engagement. Those sightlines are absolutely devastating. Reflect going to immediately swap. The Moira lets you run and really pressure this Baptiste into using that Immortality Field early, but if you're not against another Moira, and also now that we've moved away from this initial spacing of the first fight, the map opens up a lot more in terms of geometry, and the orb loses value as a result.
Condi, though, does get taken down by TVNT, and Reflect also connects on to Jaru. So the pendulum now swinging the opposite way as Play take control of their robot.
Reflect in one fight has done just as much ult charge as Yoham. Absolutely insane, given that literally he was the first pick player in the lobby. That normally means that your ultimate is so far behind the other side. That really goes to show how much damage this Baptiste is doing in that neutral, as TVNT not really getting to move forward at the moment until he sees one of those players brought low. The May were already coming out from Condi to make sure that TVNT doesn't get to play aggressively off of these shots from Kyo. And that's an Immortality Field already too.
Yeah, and an Ant Matrix too. Maybe thinking the fight could happen on the left side. TVNT splits from them. Ant Matrix from Yoham obviously got a lot more value, but Pack trying to commit that Blizzard into this fight after being subbed in looking for a kill to zone, but Condi drops off his own Blizzard after dying for it, resulting in his team having to follow up. And Sheer Cold will reclaim the robot.
Okay, that's Blizzard for Blizzard, Amp for Amp. We're going to have 2 Annihilations on the table, and there's only Dragon Strike and 1 Sound Barrier available that are going to be able to split it. Both of these Hanzos have the exact same avenue of being able to peel for this rematch ultimate. It's all going to be about coordination and Sheer Cold taking advantage of the sustain that Strabo allows them in this next fight.
Zodiel sitting back, Pack drops off with the rest of their team onto Sheer Cold, where Sheer Cold doesn't even want to take this open fight. They want to take the neutral game, and it works out. Jaru finds Pack on the right side, and that comes back with the Zodiel's Dragon Strike. Condi also finds Keo. Annihilation pop by TVNT, but he's the last one. Kills Trevor, but surely will lose his life too, and Sheer Cold keep the robot moving.
That's even rougher for play because TVNT used Annihilation, Jaru held on to his. Strabo's going to be able to have that sound barrier, so even if Kyo tries to use Dragon Strike to be able to cut any movement that Sheer Cold are able to pick up with this Rematcher ultimate, Strabo can just beat, and Jaru can hold the aggressive position.
I don't know if TVNT on Ramatra is necessarily something players used to playing around, because it feels like they are a bit, you work on a bit of synergy at the moment. Dragon Strike early from Kyo to zone out Sheer Cold on the inside. They're still holding that cart, or the robot rather. Now we'll re-engage, still have the Annihilation ready to go. Jaru takes a lot of damage without even using it. Thought maybe he'd have some support from the Annihilation, but it's a bit tough angle to actually fight at. Now they are down Jaru after using that Ant Matrix play. Don't even have to use anything after getting that kill. They'll control the robot, and Sheer Cold will back up.
That pick is huge. The fact that they're able to take Jaru down before Annihilation comes through, it allows momentum to build up to Sound Barrier, but it also allows Reflect to build into Ant Matrix, so that now you have the means of sustaining your forward position, of challenging Annihilation even without an Annihilation of your own, but also of chunking the Rematcher down in time too.
Pack looking for those Ice Schools, almost close to that Blizzard. Double support ultimate available for play. Meanwhile, like I said, Sheer Cold only have that beat. Reflect though probably wants to take a bit of a more better angle for him with this Ant Matrix. We'll use it in the main side. Can break down that wall easily, remove it from the server, but Sheer Cold just zone it, play around. Although Jaru took some damage, the beat drop and used Immortality Field in this engage. Now counter beat drop by momentum as play look to go forward with the Blizzard against the Annihilation of Jaru though. There's that Blizzard. Goes deep into the back line of Sheer Cold. Actually just kind of zones. Doesn't even catch anybody out of Sheer Cold. Meanwhile, play now have to back up against Sheer Cold, who have their own Blizzard, knowing that's coming in. Condi tosses it out, but dies for it again. Doesn't catch anybody. It looks like it's the Baptiste, but nobody's there for the follow-up. Zodiel does find momentum. TVNT also falls, but Keo is able to tray out Trevor. No tank player, though, on the side. TVNT goes down. Dragon Strike from Zodiel, or from Keo. Zodiel also pops Dragon Strike on the side. Keo's able to find Yoham. Even though they're down a tank player, Keo finds the kills on the back angle. They don't have the positional space, though, to take that robot meter advantage. Jaru gets poked incredibly low. Keo's going to have to go crazy if they want to win this here. It's going to be so hard. Pack gets walled off. Keo finds Jaru. No way. Over the top. Now they have the tank advantage, even though they were in a rough spot before. Reflect also finds Exodial, and play is back in it.
TVNT with the pummel takes down Straber as well, so Sheer Cold, who were just trying to throw themselves onto the objective and stall so that the faster respawns would allow them to regroup and overwhelm play with numbers, are now actually on the precipice of being eclipsed in terms of distance push. Keo has been an absolute damage god with Hanzo at the moment. 4k damage, 10 eliminations picked up by him as he can just apply pressure continuously onto the members of Sheer Cold over bridge side.
New body shot, or he does body shot onto Jaru. Has to fall back. Ant Matrix over the top of Reflex. Very aggressive play by Sheer Cold to stop that Ant Matrix from getting any value by the mini. Keo tries to come through via the high ground, but with other Baptiste, play have to now split up, try to run away. Fight another day.
It's too late as well. Play actually are able to, because Sheer Cold is so focused on the fight going on in high ground, sneak away with distance advantage. Play are now the ones in control of not just this next fight, but in terms of the objective as a whole.
Yeah, that means a lot long term here. Pack has that May ultimate. 3 minutes and 27 seconds left. Sheer Cold down in ultimates too. Play sitting in a good spot at the moment. A Matrix used by Yoham. They go aggressive, force the beat of momentum. 1-for-1 trade. Sheer Cold though have built up some of the ultimates that were lacking earlier. Take that trade 1-to-1. Building towards that Blizzard. Pack still has theirs as well. just waiting on the engage. Annihilation engage from Jaru first onto Keo just to shut him out. Forces that the Immortality Field and gets the Blizzard here too to make sure they secure those kills. Counter Blizzard comes through, but unfortunately the damage isn't there for the side of Play, who has lost everybody but Pack.
Yeah, Sheer Cold pressuring onto Keo, goes straight past TVNT, forces that Immortality Field, and puts Keo into such an awkward position he can't actually use the Dragon Strike to be able to peel the Annihilation the way that we've seen in the past. Silver lining for Play, it means that they do have Dragon Strike to be able to use it to circumvent Sheer Cold from being able to pick up the distance advantage as we head into such an important fight.
Keo has the Dragon Strike looking for the Lucio, but both Lucios have been doing a good job avoiding the one-shots of Hanzo's. Meanwhile, Zodiel just has to relocate to his team. Double jumps away, but now it's into the Dragon Strike. Immortality Field to zone it back. TVNT gets it. Also, Keo eventually with the tail end of the Dragon Strike finds one. Also on the Yoham, Jaru's able to trade back momentum. So it's at least one for Sheer Cold, but they don't have that Hanzo damage. Keo on the side in Play, able to just to look for the rest of the members of Sheer Cold. Condi does find Reflect. Jaru finds one of Keo too, but health pool advantage still in favor of Play. Just needs to take out Jaru now, and they do so.
They needed the Dragon Strike, but Zodiel got taken down by Keos, and as a result, they just don't have the burst damage to be able to chunk through the Ramatra health bar, and Play remain at advantage in terms of distance overall. Zodiel will have the Dragon Strike. Jaru and Condi as well as Yoham both approaching ultimates of their own, but Play can literally just decide where to position, where to take this next fight, so they slow so much time off of the bank.
Truly. Shield used by TVNT here, now counter shield by Jaru. Both Vortexes out as well. Ant Matrix here defensively for Keo. Zones out Sheer Cold. Dragon Strike re-engaged from Exodial to bust away that Ant Matrix. Meanwhile, TVNT with the Annihilation able to find just one, now two, make it three for them. That's a team wipe as Play take the advantage with a minute left.
Yeah, TVNT, such a good Annihilation, managing to take advantage of Jaru trying to move up in terms of using Zodiel's Dragon Strike as cover, and actually collapses onto the Ramatra, who just doesn't have the team sustainability nor the confidence as a result to use the Annihilation to go toe-to-toe and Play a one-fight win away from taking this series.
Annihilation here into the Blizzard, though. Let's see if Jaru can go down. He steps out of it, but Condi goes down to momentum in the Blizzard. Zodiel, though, onto the Sojourn swap, able to find TVNT. Maybe that's the swap they needed. Shut down TVNT just for that Condi trade with the spawns close. Though the boop off the map for momentum onto Straber. Annihilation from Jaru has to be popped now into the beat drop of momentum, able to get the Immortality Field out, and Zodiel gets packed. So as long as Jaru doesn't die, they might be okay, but momentum will take Jaru down. Dragon Strike here as well to zone out. You have the Baptiste and Sojourn, and 4 members. Play now backs up.
Keo, still alive though, does actually invest that Dragon Strike. All it does is manage to bait out Immortality Field, but it means it's not that on cooldown for the Sojourn.
No, yeah, they know as well that Jaru has to come back from the spawn too. Keo finds Condi, Shrever falls too, and a rough fight for Sheer Cold will now result in them being in such a dicey spot. Keo cross map connects onto Yoham. Jaru, the last one alive, unfortunately falls in Play. Get the 3-1 victory over Sheer Cold.
They needed to lock down that pick on Keo when he's around that small room on staircase, and they don't manage to find it. It's so unfortunate. The Ram knows that he's there. It's taking so much damage and just doesn't want to risk getting taken down late. And as a result, Keo is able to survive alongside his Lucio, reposition really quickly to take advantage of Jaru being split from the team, and the rubber band is instantaneous. The second that Play identify that they have the numbers advantage, the Immortality Field is not there on cooldown yet, they just pounce. And from there, it's all about momentum shift.
Yeah, I mean, great work from Play. It's such a tough fight, man, for Sheer Cold. Now, obviously, Play got to be happy with that win. I think that they were obviously seeded higher than Sheer Cold coming in from Open Division, but regardless, still a fantastic win for them over Sheer Cold, who have been a storied team so far.
Keo is one of those players that you are going to have to keep your eye on. Those Hanzo shots, the ashes, well, like, this is what this team really needs, right? When you're moving up from Open Division into Contenders, you have to ask yourself, okay, what is our clutch factor? Who is our star player? Who can we put onto a pedestal so that they can go toe-to-toe with these players who have been around the scene for so very long and have that experience, have that mechanical skill, and all of it backed up by 4 other players supporting them too. Kyo 100% is that player for this team, and they've really quickly identified it too, so there's a really good future for this team moving forward for the rest of the Contenders season.
We'll have to speak to them too after a short break. We'll have an interview with one of the players or coaches from Play, so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
Oh, hello! Fancy meeting you here. It's so nice to see ya. Are you ready to survive the wastelands? Then you'll need to bring your shotgun, your axe, and of course, your knife for your sharp wit, if you get my drift. Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on there. Don't forget to pick up your Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Yeah, gearing up is as easy as connecting your Battle.net account to Twitch. And after that, watching the Overwatch Contender Summer Series will contribute to your drop progression, letting you claim your own wasteland-ready Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Oh, that's right. It's time to rampage. Now, get out there and slay with the Overwatch Contenders Junker Queen skin. Okay, take care now. See you in chat.
Welcome back, everybody, after that matchup between Play and Sheer Cold. Play win 3-1, and we've got one of the victors from Play. We've got Momentum with us today. Congrats on your win. It's got to be tough for you in general, right? Because you're playing on North American ping over to Europe, but obviously it's got to feel good getting that first win today. What's up, Momentum?
Oh, it's going well. Honestly, I've gotten used to the ping, but it definitely was an issue at the start for sure.
Okay.
Glad to have me on.
You were predominantly playing a lot of the Lucio, but we noticed on Numbani, especially because Kyo was just popping up on that Ashe, the Mercy Pocket did come through. How do you adapt moving from something like a Lucio to the Mercy playstyle?
It really comes down to when it goes down to playing for the whole team on Lucio, and then just playing just like for Kyo as Mercy, like just for Kyo the entire time. So that's really it.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, like, for your role, that means that, like, obviously you've also had to play a little of the, even, like, the Mercy at points, right? Versus a team like Sheer Cold, I know you guys expected a victory over them, but did you expect it to be a 3-1 for them to take a map off you guys?
We expected to win for sure, but for them to take a map off of us, it definitely came down to just, maybe they pinpointed one of our weak points and we just couldn't win it out on Gibraltar.
As a player moving from the American side of Contenders into the EMEA scene, where we have a vastly different meta that revolves very heavily around things like Pharah and Echo, how confident are you at being able to take down that particular composition?
Pretty confident. It showed in our first match as well that wasn't streamed, as far as I know, and we know how to play against it, and we're gonna do our best in our future matches as well versus that.
And you had a nice little cheeky boop as well. I mean, we'll go over it probably in a bit on Coliseum. Like, what was it? Was there a matchup between you and Straybor kind of continuously on the Brigitte, on the Lucio throughout the series, or was that a bit more? Were you playing a bit more team-oriented of a Lucio?
I was playing more team-oriented. For the boop, it really came down to, I know if we're gonna win this fight, I have to make a play. So it just came down to, oh, I see an opportunity, and I took it, and I booped the enemy Lucio.
And then looking again at specific things that sort of countered the team, it felt like Sheercold were finding a lot of value with Zodial on the Tracer and Condi being able to go on to the Sombra, especially on someone like Watchpoint Gibraltar. As a support player, you're obviously very used to being focused down by that particular DPS duo. How do you deal with it in this current meta where that backline can be so incredibly vulnerable to those two DPS?
It really comes down to just being aware where the flankers are and positioning correctly. And if you do that, it's not going to be as hard of a time as it seems.
That makes a lot of sense. And for you, Momentum, obviously coming over to Europe, I mean, what's that transition like been to kind of play more with the Europeans instead of, playing in America?
I genuinely enjoy it a lot more playing on EU, because on EU, it's more when it comes down to macro and team play, as compared to NA, it's a lot more micro and like making plays and just like, it's a lot more randomness.
Yeah, it's more individualistic, kind of.
Yes, exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, Momentum, obviously, for you on your team, for play, I guess, in particular, like, I'm curious how your guys' comm structure also works. Like, are you making a lot of the calls, rotation stuff, or it's kind of comp dependent? Obviously, is what we've come to realize with like Keo, if he's going to be playing the Sombra or something along those lines. Like, what's your guys' comm structure like?
It's definitely comp dependent, but let's just say for Brawl, I just ult track and I'll call how we're going to use ults. Okay, yeah, that's pretty typical, I would say. Well, thank you for coming for the interview, Momentum. Is there anything we'd like to say before we let you go? I believe that's it. I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate y'all casting.
Oh, thanks, Momentum. It's good talking to you. Good luck in your next match, dude.
Thank you. Peace.
Well, that's Momentum from the side of play. It's always fun talking to some of these guys in interviews. Such a good interview guest lineup we had today with obviously him, and then also Vistola earlier on. But now we can kind of look back on the day, Moxie, with what happened in Europe. And what a better way to start off the summer series, huh?
Yeah, really are getting to start off on a banger series of Overwatch, both bangers, actually. SR Peak Check and X Oblivione. I don't think people expected it to be as close as they were, but this Symmetra Reinhardt composition, it has legs, it is going places, and you are going to see it really challenge a lot of these teams, I feel, especially in this EMEA sphere, where a lot of these teams that don't rely on that Pharah, that don't rely on the Echo, don't really have an easy answer outside of, as we talked to Vistola, and he admitted himself, playing perfectly, which can be a very difficult ask indeed. And then moving into that second series, getting to see Play debut and look incredibly dominant moving through that Contenders journey.
And also, tomorrow, July 11th, we will be having some more European games. Obviously, day number 2 of the summer series as we kind of get through this round-robin stage. Versus YS Pitbull Storm. We're going to see them make their debut, as well as Triple Esports versus Twisted Minds, one of the most anticipated matchups so far. Incredibly excited for that one. And tomorrow in general, so we'll have to see what happens in those games, Moxie. Is there anything you want to say precursor for that before we talk about NA?
Oh, Twisted versus Triple. There's going to be a little bit of bad blood there, considering that Twisted Minds did poach Yazan away from Triple. So, whether or not we are going to see Turkey step up to the plate and be able to play the Pharah and Echo into Lambda, or whether or not Triple have decided this time around to go for something a little bit less bird-like, well, we'll have to wait and see. But like you said, we're not done yet with Contenders action. EMEA may be finishing and wrapping up, but in a little bit of time, you're gonna have America, and we have some amazing matches on that side of the ocean too.
Yep, starting at 3 p.m. PDT. We got Good Boys versus Pirates in Pajamas, and then also Strix versus Timeless. That's an exciting matchup. I think a lot of people are looking forward to in the North American broadcast, which will be in just a few hours. In the meanwhile, thank you guys for coming out today, day 1 in Contenders Europe as well for the summer series just kicking off. So we got more Overwatch coming, but for now, we'll have to catch you guys later. And that's Dustin and Moxie out.